Remembering the inaugural season in the Astrodome 45 years ago. Another Houston icon, Jeff Bagwell, brings his insight and perspective to the broadcast booth. It's the Astros taking on the Phillies next on Fox Sports Houston. It's opening week provided by Mitsubishi Motors, live from Minute Maid Park in downtown Houston, Texas. On Fox Sports Houston, it's the Houston Astros versus the Philadelphia Phillies. Good evening, everybody. Bill Brown, newcomer Jeff Bagwell to our booth every Saturday night at home, and Jim DeShays. Hey, it's good to have a hitter up here with us, JD.
Yeah, we got a brand new world now, Brown.
Exactly right. We got to get to all these pitchers talking about stuff. I got to start getting JD in shape here.
Well, let's start you out talking about the Astros hitters who have had a rough time these first 4 games.
Well, they have, but you got to remember it's just 4 games, and they're going to be rough patches throughout the entire year. I think as a whole, our group during spring training had a pretty good spring, and it's going to cool off a little bit. That being said, also we faced some pretty good pitching too. 2-time Cy Young Award winner, an All-Star, and another Cy Young Award winner. So we faced some really good pitching, and it's going to come. Our guys are going to do fine. I know we're playing the Phillies again now too, but the season kind of goes in different cycles, and our guys are they're struggling a little bit right now, but they have track records and they're going to be fine.
JD, Jamie Moyer can disrupt some timing.
Yeah, and it's funny because we looked at that video and we saw Lincecum with his 95-mile-an-hour heater and Matt Cain. The Astros have seen some pretty good arms here in the early going. Tonight they're going to see the crafty veteran Jamie Moyer. I mean, he is the definitive crafty left-hander. 47 years of age, Jamie Moyer just keeps on keeping on. 12-game winner last year, and it's a combination of soft serve, little change-up, little sinker down and away, and just enough fastball and cutters in on the hands of the right-handed hitters to keep them honest. He is so much fun to watch pitch because in terms of stuff, he's obviously very short, but in terms of intelligence and pitching acumen, he is off the charts. 258 wins now in his career for Jamie Moyer.
Coming up from Minute Maid Park, the Astros send Felipe Paulino to the mound for the first time in 2010. He faces the hard-hitting Phillies lineup in just a moment. you by your Texas Ford dealers and the 2010 F-150. By Jack in the Box. By the Progressive Insurance Group. And by Southwest Airlines. What a beautiful night here at Minute Maid Park. The roof was closed earlier and then was rolled back, and the sun, which was hiding earlier today as we had some rain, popped out. It's gorgeous tonight. Now we have the ceremonial first pitches being thrown out from members of the 1965 Houston Astros to the guys who are wearing those uniforms for tonight. And those uniforms are going to be available for sale after this game tonight. That's a nice looking uni.
I want one of those. Those are great looking unis.
Bob Aspromonte, just about everybody's favorite Astro in those early years. There, along with Larry Durker, it really takes you back to some of the guys who really got this franchise established. And Baggy, you like that uniform?
I do like that uniform.
Jimmy Wynn. I know you've had a chance to talk with Jimmy over the years. What a little power plant he was in a cavernous ballpark, the Astrodome.
Yeah, when I first came up, it was real difficult to hit it out of there, and Jimmy was hitting balls in the upper deck, so very impressive. And more impressive about Jimmy is actually what kind of person he is. He's just a tremendous man, and it's a pleasure for me to know him.
Former President Bush here tonight, along with Barbara. And, of course, they have many long-standing friendships. There's Ron Brand shaking his hands. He was the first catcher and is now a scout. Bob Bruce, one of the original pitchers, and a very good one, 115 in his best year.
Threw a no-hitter, didn't he?
Yeah, those are great stories from those early years. And there's Claude Raymond.
Frenchie.
Haven't seen him in many years.
Used to see him at the ballpark in Montreal.
Right-handed reliever.
Oh, look at that. President Bush, that takes some skill right there, signing the autograph through the screen.
It really does. Our league leaders, brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers, will show you the 1965 team leaders for the Houston Astros. In that first year in the Dome, they started in 62 as the Colt 45s. Jimmy Wynn led the team in homers with 22. He drove in 73. He hit 275. Kirk Farrell led the team with 11 wins. Jim Owens had 8 saves. Joe Morgan led the team in runs and hits. And unfortunately, his best years came with the Cincinnati Reds, and then he returned to Houston in 1980. But very interesting time to look back upon as air-conditioned baseball came into being for the first time. And that was one of those stadiums everybody had to see. You had to go to the Astrodome, no matter where you live. Jimmy's still doing some very nice work for the Astros. And now, the modern-day Astros take the field in those old unis. Sometimes a player looks a little different in a different uniform, Baggy.
Yeah, I mean, we got 77 over there. You don't usually see that uniform over there in first base.
Here's the lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies, the defending National League champions. Look this way for Charlie Manuel tonight. It's Jimmy Rollins at shortstop. Placido Polanco is the third baseman. Chase Utley bats third and second base. It's Ryan Howard, the cleanup man, at first base. Jason Worth is in right field. Raul Ibanez plays left. Shane Victorino's in center with Brian Schneider, the catcher, for Jamie Moyer.
Big Felipe Paulino makes his first start of the year. You take a look at his numbers from last season. He made 17 starts, 23 appearances overall. The number's not good. 3-11 with an ERA up over 6, but you know, the strikeout pitch was there for him, and at times last year looked very, very good. The Astros just looking for more consistency. A little shakeup in the outfield tonight. Jason Michaels will get the start in place of Michael Bourne in center field. On the infield, Chris Johnson gets his second start. Pedro Feliz moves over to first base, and Alberto Quintero will do the catching for Paulino.
It's working. Hey.
J. Mike at center field. Getting this start, the former Philadelphia Philly, is Michael Bourne is taking a rest tonight, and C.J. Chris Johnson. Kazuo Matsui was going to be in the lineup, and the skipper Brad Mills called him in after the game last night and said, I hope you understand, but Jeff Keppinger is so hot right now. I'm going to have to play him at second base tomorrow night. So it's Keppinger at second.
It's good managing, isn't it?
Yes.
To bring him in, not just to have him show up at the ballpark the next day. And I like, you know, teams drop 4 in a row. They're having a hard time scoring runs. I think you got to go with the hot hand.
Well, communication is so big from a manager to his players, especially veteran players, so they know they don't have to come to the ballpark. You know, you wake up in the morning, you're preparing yourself to play and to face Jamie Moyer. And for him to know last night, that's great to hear that Brad did that.
Jimmy Rollins, 467 with 2 runs batted in. An OPS through the stratosphere, 1.391 for J-Roll, and he is rolling.
This is ominous because, this happened last night, too.
Happened last night. They left the door open.
Must be a good luck thing that the Phillies are leave the bullpen door open every night.
Oh, no doubt. For sure they're doing that intentionally.
Well, Jimmy had 2 hits and 2 walks in the game last night. And Paulino gets his chance this year, Jeff, at age 26.
Well, the stuff is there for sure. We all know that with a great fastball, but I think Paulino's learning that you have to really locate here. You have to change speeds, and you just can't throw it rear back and throw as hard as you can because these guys are going to hit it. And so if he locates and uses the stuff, the God-given ability that he has, I think he's going to do very well for us.
He beat the Phillies last October 1st, going 5 innings, giving up 1 run. And he really worked on those things you talked about, the nuances. He definitely has been a hard thrower. That's not the issue. But last year, he was 3-11 with a 6.27 ERA, so he hopes to be able to put those lessons into practice. And he does steam the fastball by Rollins.
That was pretty impressive sequence there. Culminating with a 99-mile-an-hour heater. Showed him a couple breaking balls and then pretty good run on that fastball to the outside third of the plate.
I don't care who's hitting right there. They're not catching that.
Yeah.
Not going to catch up to that or hit it anywhere hard.
It's going to be fun tonight to compare Paulino with Jamie Moyer.
Here's ball 1 to Placido Polanco, one of the hot hitters in Major League Baseball right now. 11 hits in 4 games. First Philly to have 10 hits or more in the first 4 since Johnny Moore, 1935. This guy is just a solid player, Baggy.
He has been forever. Probably one of the more underappreciated guys in the league. He went to the American League for a couple years over there with the Tigers, but just a great defensive player. You stick him in the second hole, he can move guys over, he can drive guys in. So I'm sure the Phillies miss Pedro, but I'm sure they're very, very happy to have Placido with them.
Placido had 4 hits last night. Tommy Manzella retired him there, and it's Chase Utley moving in next. Utley smacked a homer last night. And we look at several players in this lineup and say, yeah, they're all-star caliber. They're among the best at their positions in the majors. Utley off to a nice start.
No coincidence why they've been in the World Series the last couple of years.
Chase had a couple hits last night, also drew a walk. And that home run went to the right center field bullpen.
Yeah, as a pitcher, you've got to bring your A game against this Philly lineup. Bud Norris learned the hard way last night. Bud a little wobbly, well, more than a little. Very wobbly with his command last night. Walked Rollins to start the game on 4 pitches, and you just can't afford to open doors for these guys. There are too many good hitters.
1-1 to Utley. They are phenomenal right now. They have a .344 team batting average for their first 4 games. Paulino setting up his fastball well, and it's 1-2.
They show a nice touch with the breaking ball. He hung one or kind of spun one back door to Rollins, but for the most part, he's had good action on that breaking pitch.
Two and 2. Not a bad miss, Jeff.
No. Chase wasn't going to be able to do anything with that one anyway, so he had to take it. But that was a pretty good pitch right there.
Humberto Quintero making his second start behind the dish for the Astros. Paulino was a major leaguer, 5-12 with a 6.40 ERA. Now 3-2.
This team, this Philly team, is pretty patient too. They don't swing at a lot of bad pitches, even for the amount of power that they have up and down their lineup. They will work the count, take their walks. They'll have a bunch of guys with a bunch of stolen bases. So they're a tough team to really pitch against.
Fastball struck him out. A 1-2-3 impressive beginning for Felipe Paulino. alive, in fact, in 1965. Jamie Moyer is on the mound pitching against this batting order. Jason Michaels, the center fielder. And it's Jeff Keppinger at second base. Hunter Pence is the right fielder, with Carlos Lee in left field. Pedro Feliz at first base. Chris Johnson at third. Tommy Manziel at shortstop. Humberto Quintero, the catcher, for Felipe Molino. And Moyer, at age 47, a 6th round pick by the Cubs in '84, goes to work. 12-10 last year, a 4.94 ERA. He was a starter until August. Sent to the bullpen then. He got injured. And he is the active leader in wins with 258 in the majors. First pitch, strike one to Jason Michaels, who is 0 for 1 this season.
Breakdown on Jason Michaels, a veteran, 10th year in Major League Baseball. Pretty good pedigree there with Piniella and Magadan, two very good hitters. Happy birthday, Peyton. This reminds me of the uniforms we had in Little League. Although they're not flannel. We had those old flannel unis that kind of look like this.
I like them though. They look good with the socks roll.
Yeah.
They really do. These uniforms are going to be for sale. They're going to be autographed by the players after the game tonight. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And the Astros buy a set of uniforms for both teams. They buy 2 sets. The player keeps one, and the other one goes up for sale. Broken bat looper, caught by Utley. Right off the end for out number 1.
Eighth player in Major League Baseball history to pitch in 4 decades. Mike Morgan, Nolan Ryan, Jerry Royce, Kitty Cott, Early Wynn, Bobo Newsom, and Jack Quinn from way back when.
Impressive stuff, considering that he was released when Brad Mills told him in '92 by the Cubs AAA Iowa club. There's strike one. Brad was telling that story before the game tonight. Jeff Keppinger on a 3-game hitting streak. 545 for Jeff. He's gone 6 for his last 10. And that's why he's in the lineup. With the Astros hitting 204 as a team, looking for hot bats.
He's really had the best at bats of anybody on our team for the last 4 games. So Millsy doing a good job keeping him in the lineup. Hopefully give us a little bit of a spark here.
Usually makes solid contact. He's a guy who will take the ball to right and right center and get line drives. Moyer comes in, and from what we've been told, Jeff, Moyer's cutting the ball in a lot on right-handed batters.
Well, that's what the guys in the clubhouse were saying earlier before the game. You know, I haven't seen it quite yet. It looks like those are just fastballs in, which he tries to kind of get you leaning out over there and bust you back in. And then, of course, he does that. He throws a 76-mile-an-hour changeup. And for fans at home, it's just very difficult for right-handed batters to stay back and just try and hit the ball to right field. It's just it goes against our nature, and that's what he's going to do because he's just not going to give in.
In the air on the right side, Howard backpedaling. Utley's behind him and calling. And he's in that sun field. And tell us about playing first base this time of night, Jeff.
You know what? It really is not that bad because that building over there, over past the left field box over there, kind of blocks the sun from you. And usually the sun sets right behind it, so usually it's okay. It's been a while since I've been out there, so I kind of forget, but I've never really remembered having too much of a problem with the sun.
Hunter Pence is 1 for 16. Got an infield hit to snap that 0 for 12 start. There's ball 1. This is going back a few years, but were you guys consulted on the stadium construction as far as the way the playing field was laid out? Do you remember that?
Well, I remember we talked about it, and I remember talking at some point to Graydon about that sun, that sun was going to set over there, that could be a problem. Because in Colorado, the sun sets right behind the shortstop and the third baseman. I've literally missed 3 balls over there because of it. That being said, I'm sure whatever I consulted didn't mean anything.
Fly ball left. Ibanez makes it a 1-2-3 first for Moyer, and it's no score.
and aboard ships at sea. They're watching this game all over the world in places like Iraq, Italy, Southwest Asia, and South Korea. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for your service. Brownie, back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bart. Glad to have them with us tonight. We hope they enjoy it. And they are dressed like the Spacettes back in 1965 when the Astrodome opened. They strike one from Paulino to Ryan Howard. Howard off to a gargantuan start with a .400 batting average, 7 runs batted in, 3 doubles already. Big numbers for a big man. And last year was the 4th for him, in which he hit 40 home runs and drove in 130 runs, 4 in a row, one of only 4 players in Major League history to do that.
Nice way to start a career.
Wow. He's 30 years old.
Is he really?
He was blocked a little bit. Remember they had Jim Thome over there. And there were a lot of people clamoring for Ryan Howard to be called up, but Thome was still a very productive player.
He made up for it by becoming the player who reached 200 homers in the fewest games. Paulino missing there, falls behind 2-1 to Howard. Howard's already 5th in Phillies history in long balls. And there you see the Major League leaders in homers. Pujols, a fielder, right ahead of him.
All National Leaguers.
Well, that's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and the only guys hit 40 or more last year, 5 of them all from the NL.
Home run totals now for the leaders in baseball are back where they were about 50 years ago, but teams are hitting a lot more because more guys hit home. The fly ball, and Carlos Lee's back, running out of real estate there along the wall. And that one looked like it hit him on the shoulder coming down off the scoreboard wall. Howard's legging it to third base, and he slides in with a trip.
He hit a double down the left field line last night, goes the other way again tonight. And anytime a guy like Howard, well, anybody, period, but a guy as big as Howard, when he gets it airborne towards those Crawford boxes, as a pitcher, you kind of hold your breath. And Carlos has become very adept at playing the wall. Thinks he's got a play on this one, so he goes all the way to the wall. And in that position to handle the carom, but it kicks off into the shoulder or collarbone.
They're going to go out and look at him.
I'm not sure where that hit, if he had a chance to make a play after all.
Skipper Brad Mills, Nate Lucero, the head athletic trainer, are headed out there. I might have gotten the collarbone. And Carlos will often decoy a little bit with men on base and act like he's going to catch it and then turn around and play it off the wall.
Maybe it was elbow into the wall and not the ball that's creating the problem, because it looks like the elbow's where the issue is. Oh, yeah, that's well up there. Had no chance to make a play on it.
Yeah, he was trying to turn, and then the ball hit him in the back of the arm, it looked like. Maybe the shoulder area. That's the right elbow area. Brad Mills, as we mentioned, was telling that story when he was manager of the Iowa Cubs in '92, and Jamie Moyer had surgery the previous year. He wasn't throwing well in spring training, and Brad had to tell him that he was released, and somebody said, how did he take it? And he said he took it fine. He was very professional, but he said, I will pitch in the major leagues again.
You know, if you look at Jamie Moyer's career, you can go back to, I don't know, early 90s maybe. And you could argue that if he were to be an amateur going into a tryout camp, he would not get a professional contract to sign. And he's probably made about $60 million since then, if not more, and won 200 games. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Sometimes, you know, you talk about all the scouts and the radar gun reading. Sometimes you just got to watch a guy compete.
That's exactly right.
Now runner at third for Jason Worth with nobody out in the inning. Big crowd tonight.
Especially nowadays, too, with the radar gun being such a big deal. It's in every ballpark. Everybody can see how hard they throw. Scouts don't want to take a chance on signing a guy like this and thinking he's going to get released or whatever. So, but Jamie does what he does, and that's pitch.
Infield back. Jason Worth is looking for his first RBI, and there's strike one.
And conversely, Felipe Paulino's the kind of guy with his arm, you know, even if he were to be struggling as a minor leaguer, he would get chance after chance.
That's a deep drive to left center field. Michaels on the run for it, and he gets there on a warning track. Howard will waltz home. Good catch by Michaels. 1-0 Phillies.
Michael Bourne, the Gold Glover, made a heck of a catch out there last night. And Jason Michaels can handle the position as well.
Howard is home with the game's first run. Raul Ibanez is next. There's a fastball to him for strike one. Ibanez has a .267 average, 4 runs batted in. The Astros have not had a lead in a game yet this year. It's no balls, 2 strikes. The Phillies have outscored their opponents, including that run, 33-11. So they've waltzed to some of their wins. One and 2 with Victorino on deck. Charlie Manuel's club trying to get back to the World Series for the 3rd straight year. Late swing there. Ibanez is strikeout victim number 3.
Yep, that 99-mile-an-hour gas gets the job done. Boy, and it's tough to catch up to when it's upstairs like that. So, Maggie, what are the Philly hitters? What kinds of conversations are going on in the dugout right now? I mean, because I think you guys do a lot of
for the Philly hitters,
early game analysis. Yeah.
They're saying, darn, this guy throws hard.
Shane Victorino.
Turn it up, dial it up a notch.
Yeah, you got to. You know, I've never faced Felipe. I don't know how that ball comes out of his hands, and what I mean by that is if you see it, there's some guys that throw real hard that you can actually see the ball, that it doesn't really feel like it's that hard. There's other guys like a Zambrano, when he was throwing 95, felt like he was throwing harder than Kerry Wood at the time he was throwing 99, just because you couldn't see the ball because of his body and the way he threw. I think Roger was a lot like that. I know he threw hard, but I don't think people could pick the ball up because he kind of short-armed it. But they're talking about that, but they are talking about how hard he throws. I promise you that.
My hunch is Nieve was one of those guys that threw pretty hard, but in the way he got hit around, it seemed like the hitters saw him pretty well. Exactly right, because I think if you fly open a little bit, you get to see the ball a lot longer than you do with other guys that stay nice and closed and tight.
Brad Arnsberg and Felipe Paulino were working on that very thing this spring. I think Paulino falls into that category, being somebody the hitters pick up early. They're trying to coordinate his lower body with his upper body a little bit more this year. Oh, and a good play there. That was very well done by Phillies. It looked smooth at first base. 1 run, 1 hit, and the Phillies lead it 1-0. Phillies 1, Astros nothing. Bottom of the second inning. The Astros would love to stir it up here. Get Paulino the lead after the Phillies just scored in the top half of the frame. Carlos Lee leads it off. 0 for his last 11. He looks at ball 1 from Moyer. Carlos has 2 hits and 15 at bats. And it's 2 balls, no strikes. Astros 3, 4, 5 hitters have combined to get 5 hits and 47 at bats coming into this game without an RBI. 2-hopper there. Polanco across. 1 out for Moyer. Bart?
Well, Brownie, we want to remind fans they can follow the Astros on their iPhone, iPod Touch, BlackBerry, and Android phone with MLB.com at Bat 2010, featuring play-by-play, video highlights, and live audio broadcasts. Visit Astros.com today on your iPhone, iPod Touch, Android, or BlackBerry for more details. Just another example of how technology is changing the way fans follow this great game, Brownie.
Oh, yeah. Wide array of things to participate in on that. There's ball 1 to Phillies. 3 for 16 with a couple of runs batted in for the former Philly.
That last at bat is typical Jamie Moyer right there. He got Carlos 2-0. Took something off his fastball. Might have been even a changeup, Jimmy, that he just threw on the outside part of the plate. And as I said before, right-handed hitters just have a tough time selling out to right field, and the classic rollover straight to shortstop. So that's Jamie Moyer right there.
There's a liner, but foul left field side.
Yeah, Moyer is one of those guys that I think he probably feels like he has an advantage when he's behind in the count, because the hitter's in the swing mode, and he's just going to kind of tease you a little bit, throw that little drifter down and away.
Yeah, we're saying to ourselves, we got him now.
Yeah.
he's going, no, you don't.
Well, and we talked at pregame. We were up here chatting, and you made the good point about maybe some left-handed bats would be the way to go to kind of give him another look.
Yeah, just to get him out of his comfort zone. He gets used to pitching to one side of the plate all the time. Tom Glavine used to do that all the time. And I think some teams back in the 90s used to put left-handers in there and kind of made him throw to a different side of the plate that he's not comfortable with. And hopefully tonight that's not going to be the case for us, and we're going to start to get after him.
And reaching for that one, Feliz puts it in the air.
And be a little patient and take our hits to right and move some guys around.
That's 5 straight for Moyer. Here's Carlos Lee's at bat.
Yeah, here we go right here. Small sinker away. Ball. Change up away. Got him where he wants him. Uh-oh. There he is, been doing that for about 20 years now.
Chris Johnson is 0 for 5 this season. In the air to center. Victorino. And Moyer is cruising along. 6 straight outs for him. 1-0 Phillies. Phillies 1, Astros nothing. Lance Berkman took some batting practice yesterday on the field and had a little soreness afterwards, Brad Mills said. Still no timetable on Lance's return to the lineup. Brian Schneider leads it off. Schneider 0 for 3.
That's a big hole for us to have with Lance out of the lineup. Not just because of how well he hits, but his on-base percentage, how he'll take walks, get on base, and that really helps and moves our lineup around. So not having him is kind of hurt us.
Yeah, I think the timetable would be not soon enough.
Yeah.
As Lance getting back.
Paulino goes to 2-1 on Schneider. Well, the Astros have drawn only 4 walks so far in the first 4 games. Been tough for this pitching staff without any leads. 3 balls and a strike with Moyer on deck. And it's 3-2. Paulino had some back spasms at the end of spring training. And the Astros had to give him some extra rest before this start.
Yeah, when's the last time he faced hitters? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
Has not affected him.
No, it hasn't.
He's looked pretty good so far, don't you?
Man, great. And I think the key for him, I think, here early is the fact that he's been able to throw that breaking ball for strikes a high percentage of the time. Well, when you can do that and couple it with that 99-mile-an-hour fastball, it can be unhittable.
Jamie Moyer backs away, and there's strike 1. Paulino coming inside on him.
Yeah, it's tough as a hitter to try and have to cover everything if he's throwing for strikes.
1-1. Speaking to Lance's situation, if you're in his shoes, are you just maybe pressing to get back sooner than you would be if the team was doing well?
I mean, I'm sure he is. I know he wants to be out there, and obviously when you see your buddies out there struggling a little bit, you really want to get back. But the bottom line is his knee is going to tell him when he can come back and play, and right now it's just not telling him that he can play. I mean, it's one thing just to stand up there and hit, but you got to do a lot more playing first base and just being a position player, playing defense, running the bases, and all those kind of things. And we certainly can't make it worse so that we don't have him in another month. So I think Lance has been down this road before, and he's smart about it.
Now 3-2 on Moyer.
Tried to overthrow that one a little bit. I think Q, recognizing that's going to go out and say, hey, wait a minute here. I got the opposing pitcher up there. We're in a nice groove. Don't try to throw it 112. That 99 is pretty good as it is. Just stay nice and compact and throwing right down the middle here.
Galloway and Moyer's making Paulino work. 43 pitches for the big right-hander.
Oh, we got a skin knee. Ouch. And there is crying in baseball after all.
Line drive hit to left field by Moyer.
I guess you don't play in the big leagues until you're 47 years of age if you're not a good athlete.
Time for tonight's Jack in the Box standings. We'll flash you back to 1965 and show you the league leaders. Clemente led in average. Mays with 52 homers. Marichal had 10 shutouts. Pete Rose with 209 hits. Sandy Koufax 26 wins and a 2.04 ERA. Jimmy Rollins struck out leading off the game. There's ball 1. Rollins was quoted in a recent story talking about being surprised that Cliff Lee was traded, because the Phillies could have had, of course, tomorrow's starter Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee in the same rotation.
It's not like Jimmy to speak up, is it?
No, not much. He's made some bold predictions, hasn't he?
He doesn't have to make out those checks.
Exactly right.
He'll tell you. In fact, there was a story about him with Roy Halladay And the story indicating Halladay doesn't talk to anybody on the day he pitches. Rollins says, he'll talk to me. I talk to everybody.
We had one of those guys back in Randy Johnson days.
98,
he didn't really like to talk too much either before it starts. And he was big enough where I wasn't going to talk to him anyway.
Now 3-0 on Rollins. He's walked 6 times. Gets underneath it and fouls it back. Rollins gives you that dynamic combination of on-base ability, speed, and power.
This one right in front of us. Hang with him.
Paulino throws to Manzella, who drops it, gets back on the bag, and gets the force play on Moyer. So no double play.
Looked like it'd be a routine double play, even with Rollins' speed sharply back to the mound. Paulino does a nice job of taking his time and making sure he makes an accurate throw. And the sure-handed Manzella just unable to hang on. And we're thinking about being quick because of the speed of Rollins.
Tell you what, you don't see that very often, a guy dropping a ball like that and actually be able to pick it back up and get the out.
You know, the panic factor is ratcheted it up.
Now Polanco. Snap throw to first. Phillies opened up at Washington, winning 2 out of 3. Their offensive numbers really off the charts. 52 hits in their first 4 games. First time since 1926. They've had 10 hits or more in each of the first 4.
Again, good depth on the slider from Paulino. Suspect Rollins will be thinking about trying to steal second base here.
It's 2 outs. He should be thinking that.
Especially if he wants to get 50 bags this year.
There he goes.
One and 2. Phillies looks pretty good at first base.
Well, he's got such great hands that making the transition over there I don't think is really difficult for him. I know he's played some games there in the past, so I'm sure it's probably not, it's like a night off for him. He doesn't have to worry about throwing it across the diamond.
Phillies certainly have some options with this guy as their number 2 hitter. Very solid contact hitter.
He's probably one of the worst guys you want up in a big situation. He's not going to swing at too many bad pitches, and he's going to take whatever is given to him.
Rollins starts and stops, and the umpire backed out of there. So no pitch.
Yeah, Rollins doing a lot of leaning out there and trying to distract Felipe, and Felipe taking a long time trying to freeze Rollins. Polanco ultimately called timeout. The other thing about a hitter like Polanco, a guy who hits in a 2-hole with his feet are on base in front of him, you've got to be patient because you can get out of your rhythm as a hitter.
That's for sure, Jimmy. That is exactly true. That happened to me a couple times when we had Roger Cedeno. Guys, I remember Montreal, I'll never forget it. They threw over like 10 times, and I was kind of like going, what is going on here? You know, I was not comfortable at all.
You're kind of looking down at Roger, so either go back to the bag or steal.
Exactly
get it
right.
over with.
But that's true. But Polanco can do that, so it doesn't bother him. Because he can do stuff like that.
Nice short, compact stroke for Polanco.
An interesting conversation with Charlie Manuel before the game tonight. We were talking about different facets of the game, and he's a big believer in a lot of BP, a lot of throwing, and a lot of running. He feels, we talk about pitchers that don't throw their fastball could lose their fastball. He says the same thing about speed guys. If they don't do their sprints, they can lose a step.
Rollins is sprinting. Ground ball goes on through into center field, and he's sprinting on to third base on the single by Polanco.
Charlie was a minor league manager. He said there were days where he would throw 4 hours of BP.
Oh my God.
He got it when he was in Japan. The idea of repetition and over and over and over again, training the muscles to do baseball-specific stuff, and he's a big believer in it.
Well, the Japanese are known for that. Fundamental work. Rollins continues on to third on the sharp single by Polanco. Polanco's hit in all 5 Philadelphia games now. That gets Utley to the plate, and there's just really not a lot of breathing room in this Phillies lineup.
There's not. They have so much going on for them. They have the speed, they have the power, they have discipline, and it's just tough. It's tough each and every inning as a pitcher. You got to grind to get these guys out.
And at this stage of the game with 2 outs, you know, if I'm Felipe, I don't really worry a whole lot about Polanco over there. I want all my effort, all my concentration on Utley here at home plate.
No doubt, because he can definitely hurt us.
And this is where Plano could take a real step forward, because at times last year he'd be sailing along pretty well in a game, and then a little inning would just blow up on him. And you know, that's kind of the next step in his development, to manage games and pitch around some trouble.
No, that was Wandy a couple years ago. Same thing.
Yeah, just implode.
Yep. You know, now Wanda's done a nice job with those innings don't happen anymore. Obviously had a tremendous year last year, so you know it doesn't, not everybody gets it right off the get-go. You know, it's going to take some time, and luckily for Felipe and for us, with his talent and what we've seen so far, really, he's going to get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's why Brad Arnsberg is so excited to work with him, because the upside for a guy with his physical gift, when that light comes on and he gets it, you know, a chance to have a heck of a pitcher.
Ask you, Jimmy. I noticed that Felipe, he pretty much pitches from the middle of the mound. I haven't seen many pitchers do that. They're either all the way left or all the way right.
Yeah, and when I came up, everybody, you threw from lefties all through from the first base side, and righties all through from the third base side. There might have been 1 or 2 guys that mixed it. I think Hershiser started to work from the first base side a little bit. And now it seems the opposite. Now it is rare to see a guy right in the middle. And that may be a product of Brad Arnsberg getting with him and saying, okay, let's not worry too much about angles. Let's just get right in the middle, trust your stuff.
Blocked by Quintero. Is Paulino one of those guys who can throw for the middle of the plate and let the ball move to the corner?
He doesn't have great movement. So I think with him, we talked about the best fastballs, velocity, movement, and command. For him, as long as you get 2 out of 3, you can compete. And he obviously has velocity, so the nights that he has his good command, he's in real good shape.
Tonight, it looks like he has better command of his slider.
Yeah, he's 59 pitches, 35 strikes, and he's really mixed it up nicely. I'm trying to overthrow that one a little bit.
Full count, 2 outs. Polanco takes off from first. He's won 4 straight silver sluggers at second base.
Well, that's what this lineup does right here. Think about it. We got 60 pitches and we're only in the 3rd inning.
Phillies playing behind the runner.
And he hasn't walked anybody. Yeah. Just deep count. There's the walk. I jinxed him.
Way to go.
Base is loaded now for big Ryan Howard. Brad Arnsberg on his way out.
Well, and this is a great idea by Arnsberg to come out and have a chat, because going back to what we talked about with Felipe last year, I think when you have his kind of an arm, when you get under pressure like this, there's a temptation to get a little worked up and just say, I'm just going to blow it by him. And all of a sudden, that fastball that you've been hitting spots with, you just channel it. You just pump it right over the heart of the plate, get a little careless with it, and you pay a big price. Obviously you don't want to walk Ryan Howard here, but that's not as big an issue as if you throw him a cookie and he hits it 500 feet. You have to stay true to your game and try to make pitches. You can't just give in because the bases are loaded.
I heard Rocket talk a lot about that when he pitched, that he wasn't going to give in even though he was 3-1 and bases loaded. He'd rather walk you and take the chances with the next guy.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about a guy like Ryan Howard, who in this ballpark, that left field becomes very close for him, like that last at bat that he had. He doesn't have to hit it all that well to hit it off of that.
Halladay and Oswalt tomorrow.
It should be fun.
Should be fast.
The Astros will be traveling after the game to St. Louis. Cardinals have their home opener Monday afternoon.
That's a good getaway day matchup, isn't it?
Oh, that is fantastic. Monday, it's Wandy Rodriguez and Adam Wainwright at 3:15 game time. There's strike one to Howard, who had that triple, as Jeff mentioned, off the left field wall. Tuesday's an off day. Wednesday in St. Louis, a night game. Matches Brett Myers and Brad Penny. And Thursday, a day game, finds Bud Norris paired with Kyle Loesch. Rollins, Polanco, and Utley waiting. Howard's got some serious bat speed. No balls, 2 strikes. You can see why a pitcher would want to try to beat him in, but he does strike out a lot. But if he does some damage, it's usually a lot of damage. One and 2 for Paulino, who's at 64 pitches. Last night's starter Bud Norris went 2 2/3. Phillies won that game 8-0. Two and 2 to Howard. Phillies beat the Astros 2-0 in the opener of the Astrodome, April 12, 1965. Chris Short the winner. Dick Allen hit the first homer.
A lot of times you'll hear veteran pitchers talk about saving something. And this would be a great opportunity if he had confidence in a changeup. I don't think he's thrown one yet tonight. Off-speed breaking ball has been, that's been his off-speed pitch. Kind of hard to break something out that you haven't thrown in this critical of a situation.
Yes, it is.
To Ryan Howard.
Yeah, I'm going to invent a pitch here. He's worked awfully hard here in the third.
Now full count to Howard.
And this goes back to the point we made earlier. Don't give in here. Still make your pitch. If you walk him, it's not the end of the world.
Worth is on deck. This is the 4th full count of this inning for Paulino. And Howard fouls it away.
To the 8th pitch in this sequence.
Ball 4 forces in a run. 2-0 Phillies. It started with a 1-out single by Moyer.
And just did not want to throw that fastball over the plate. Might have been better off throwing something else. Show you this at pitch by pitch. He got the jump on Ryan Howard. Dropped a little breaking pitch in there for strike 1, and then got the fastball pulled foul for strike 2, and then he starts to work off the plate trying to get Howard to chase. And Howard showing some discipline. Baggy been talking. This is kind of a Jeff Baggy-like bat here. Fall behind early, and then they try to get you to chase, and nope, not going to. Do a little keyhole him, and then Felipe tries to pump up on that one, and misses badly.
Jason Worth hit the sac fly to center field. Good catch by Jason Michaels on that one. If the Astros had turned the double play, they'd be out of the inning. And there's strike 1 to Worth. And typically those types of things really can hound a team that's not playing well, not winning. Worth fouls it away, and it snowballs 2 strikes. Each team kind of seeks its own identity, doesn't it? Different players every year. Different mix in the clubhouse?
Yeah, you do. This Philly team, they've been together pretty much. Polanco was the only guy they brought in. He's a high-quality guy. So they've been pretty set here for a while. So I think they're feeling pretty good about themselves right now. Anytime you bring in a Polanco or a Halliday, I think that's going to help out with the chemistry and all that kind of stuff.
You know that. Polanco at third. And it's Utley. And Ryan Howard. 2-2. Paulino, one of the 4 of the 5 starting pitchers are from the Astros farm system. Paulino, one of those 4. Past the diving third baseman Johnson into the corner. Polanco scores. Utley and Howard is stopped. It's 4-0 Phillies on a 2-run double by Worth. Worth gets his first runs batted in of this season, and he has 3 in this game.
It's just the depth of this lineup. You know, you walked Utley, and you had that long battle with Howard. And a lot of clubs, you start to get down around the 6-hole, 7-hole. You feel like you catch a little bit of a break, but not so much with this team.
Four-run lead for the Phils. Now Ibanez, who struck out in the second. Looks at ball one. Ibanez, the 8th Philly to bat here in the third. Pitch count up to 75 for Paulino now. Good lineups like this one just feast and want to keep feasting. They don't get tired of big offensive games. Fly ball, center field. Michael's waiting. And in the third inning, the Phillies drop a 3 spot on Paulino. They had 3 hits. They left 2. It's 4-0.
Turn back the clock date of 1965. It's time for our progressive fan of the game. We had to find somebody who was in the Dome opening day 1965. How about a 22-year-old Frank Segura? What do you remember about that day, Frank?
There were a lot of politicians, there were a lot of beer, and a lot of astronauts.
What'd you think about the Astrodome?
Yeah, it was nice. It was quite an achievement. I was young, drank a lot of beer, and I was soaking it all in. Yeah. It was a great environment. I thought, Texas was leading the nation in the 20th century with NASA and everything. So
Pretty neat to see the team in the old throwback uniforms, too, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think they could use Jimmy Wynn right now.
I think you're right. Yeah. Well, just on longevity alone, Brownie, Frank Segura is our progressive fan of the game. There you go, my friend. Back to you, Brownie.
Thanks, Frank, for joining Bart. Big night for memories of that day. Tommy Manziel is behind in the count 0-2. Tommy has 3 hits and 10 at-bats this season. And a Moyer curveball in the dirt for a 1-ball, 2-strike count. The Astros have been retired 1, 2, 3 in 17 of 38 innings so far this year. Quintero and Paulino to follow. Moyer gets another right-handed batter to reach for one and tap back to him. 1 out. A guy like Moyer can make it look so easy.
He can. He just preys on our inability to stay with a game plan up there.
And we talked earlier about the contrast between the two pitchers, and it's not just the two pitchers, but the two lineups. So you've got Paulino with the overpowering stuff, but the Phillies, even when behind in the count, for the most part, haven't chased the Astro hitters, and especially against a guy like Moore, because you feel like you should hit him. You're kind of, what's the hitter issue here? Hitting coaches say, you should be able to hit him, so you want to swing the bat.
I think all great pitchers, when they pitch, that you have to feel like you are going to swing at every pitch they throw. But you never see like great pitchers throw balls like 6 feet outside, 6 feet over their head, where you're not even thinking about
just
swinging.
Disregard a pitch.
Right. And I think Jamie does that a little bit, where he's just throwing that ball outside and you're like, oh, I can hit that. And by the time it gets to the plate, it's already 6 inches high and you're reaching for it and hitting comebackers to the mound.
2-1. He worked 162 innings last year with that injury and the move to the bullpen in the mix for him. Quintero gets underneath it. Raul Ibanez takes care of the second out. And Felipe Paulino's spot comes around. Moyer has retired the first 8.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this inning is going quickly. And Felipe threw 45 pitches last inning, worked awfully hard. He really could have used a nice break in that dugout.
He takes ball 1. This morning, the Major League Baseball Urban Youth Academy opened. Grand opening at Sylvester Turner Park. Big ceremonies got it going with Michael Bourne, Wandy Rodriguez, Jimmy Wynn, Larry Durker, Braden McLean, Ed Wade, Pam Gardner, Tal Smith there. Houston Mayor Denise Parker was there. Hit to right field, over Worth. There's the first Astro hit. It's banged off the wall. Paulino in with a double. An 0-32 Major League hitter sent one over the head of Worth.
Moyer got it started for the Phillies in the top half of the inning with 1 out. Now a 2-out double from Paulino. So that's the secret. Got to run the pitchers up there. That's a good-looking swing.
And now Jason Michaels rips one to left field. Ibanez backing, and with a decoy, that one reaches the street for a 2-run shot. First Astro home run of the season comes from former Philly Jason Michaels. And it's 4-2.
That's a nice response to the 4th spot the Phillies put on the board, and it came out of nowhere. 2 quick outs. Paulino double, first pitch swinging by Jason Michaels. Boy, that Brad Mills is a smart manager, giving Michaels a start here tonight.
Now Jeff Keppinger takes, and it's ball 1 to Keppinger. He popped a second. That's some thunder out of the leadoff spot. Michaels hit 4 last year, 135 at bats. He finished the season pretty well, though. 2 balls, no strikes.
And nice to see him get a start. Had a pretty good spring.
That's his 50th Major League homer. 3-0 to Keppinger.
Very important for extra guys to get a start. In the past years, our extra guys haven't been getting too many starts, and I know it's tough when you got Pence, Bourne, and Carlos Lee out there, but it's imperative to your team that down the stretch that they get at bats, so they're comfortable when they do get those at bats as pinch hitters.
That's a good grab on the front row of the Landry's Crawford boxes, and what follows the home run? A walk to Keppinger. Now it's Hunter Pence. Pence hit a 2-run homer last year off Moyer. He hits another one here. This place will get pretty lively. There's ball 1 to him. It has been a difficult middle of the lineup, but most of the team falls into that category of struggling with the bats at this point. Pence smacks one to left. They're getting up again in those seats, and Hunter Pence has ripped a 2-run homer to tie this game 4-4. Wow, I never saw that one. You went railroad on that one, JD.
Wow. Now we talked a lot about Jamie Moyer's approach and how crafty he can be, but also if he doesn't hit his spots, he can be in a world of hurt.
Yeah, and both of those home runs were supposed to be fastballs in that he didn't get in.
Didn't get him in there. Yeah.
And with his velocity, if he doesn't get it in there, that's when we have to take advantage of him.
Carlos Lee rolls one through. There's that opposite field approach. And the Astros offense has put something together here in the third.
Ooh, we were almost eating chicken sandwiches again. That's a big fly.
The Astros had a 3-run 7th Wednesday against the Giants. Coming up here with the 4-run 3rd. Pitching coach is Rich Doobie.
This is kind of fun stuff when you consider how the Astros have been scuffling at the plate through these first 4 ball games, and the way tonight had gone. 2 out, nobody on, and Paulino up there, and boom.
Now Phillies. These runs are breaking a 13-inning scoreless drought. Phillies hit a fly ball to left. This liner makes it through the left side of the infield into left field. 5 hits in the inning.
An ambush. Phillies up there, first pitch swinging.
The Astros have their first bat around inning as Chris Johnson, the 9th man to bat, steps in. He hit a fly ball to center. Fouls that one for strike 1.
You must get the sense that the Astro hitters had a little internal conversation down there, something along the lines of, let's not try to think with this guy. Let's just go up there and hit. And they've been hacking in this inning.
Well, that's the old adage, right? You see it and hit it.
See it and hit it. I know that was my philosophy, Baggy.
That's right. I watched that. I watched that routine.
Out the middle, Moyer will scramble for it. Johnson tries to beat it out, and he's safe. The bases are loaded.
Crowd really energized now. And we talked about Moyer's athleticism earlier. He's Pretty good out there, but he had a long way to go to track that one down. Made a heck of a play, but good hustle by Chris Johnson.
Johnson gets his first hit after an 0 for 6 start. Now bases loaded for Manzella. He grounded back to Moyer as he opened this inning for the Astros. Moyer's up to 45 pitches. Lee, Phillies, and Johnson hoping to keep the line moving here.
It's a nice sign for us right here. This takes some deep breaths in the dugout now.
Didn't have to be.
It's hard to come from behind in any major league game, but I guess the club, like the Phillies, in a game like this could be a wild one, Baggy.
Could be. But I'm just happy for the guys, get some hits to right field. We have some home runs. There's a pretty good feeling going on in that dugout right now.
Broken bat on that one. It's 1-2. It just energizes everybody when you have an inning like this when so many guys have been struggling.
It sure does. Because, everybody's sitting, just like you guys or whoever's watching on TV, they're getting frustrated just like everybody else. And each guy wants to do a little bit more, and that's when you start doing that, that's when you get in trouble.
And I hear the term all the time. People tell me, well, the team looks flat. And I said, well, they're just not hitting. The idea that they're not trying, I don't buy that.
No, that's exactly right. Every team looks flat when they're not hitting.
Yeah, when
and they're not winning.
Right turns and jogging back to the dugout, there's not a whole lot going on.
No.
It's 3-2 to Manzella now.
This is where Tommy's going to have to be real patient and make sure he gets what he wants to hit right here. 3-2 with the bases loaded, being a young kid.
A shot off the glove of Polanco, and the Astros have the lead 5-4. Their first lead of the season.
Well, Paulino got that rest you were looking for. He might have to come up and hit again. I hope he does.
Sharply hit. They're going to rule it a base hit.
Manzella's 4th hit of the year, and he gets his first RBI. Quintero's next. He hit a fly ball to left. That's Manzella's first major league RBI. Last year he had 1 hit and 5 at bats, didn't drive in a run. One and 1. Oswalt and Halladay tomorrow. To second, Utley gets the force play, and the Astros grab the lead. They come up with 5 runs on 7 hits. They lead 3. There's the start of it. The 1-out double by Paulino gets things rolling. And then add on Michael's 2-run homer, Pence 2-run homer, Manzella go-ahead RBI single, 5-4 Astros. Astros now, a total of 77 pitches were thrown in that inning. Now it's flashback. It's turn back the clock night, turning back the clock to the first regular season game in the Astrodome in 1965. That's the way the grounds crew was attired back then. And Mike Acosta of the Astros dug up those old helmets that they'd kept around for all those years. They're wearing them.
Hope they're not moldy. Have we got an organist here tonight? There's an organ down by the Astros dugout.
That's right. I'm glad you brought that up.
He was cranking out the tunes during batting practice and playing here between innings.
He's still down there. Shane Victorino taking strike one. He grounded out. There he is. And he's here after performing in Astrodome days as well. That's been a different sound throughout this ballpark. A lot of folks took notice of that.
I'd be in favor of that once a week. That's kind of fun.
Sure is. Hot shot, Phillies. To Paulino. Talking to Jeff Blum the other night about playing first base. That's that crossover step. Phillies just looks really comfortable there. Not everybody does.
No, he's made that play twice already tonight, so he does look comfortable there. I mean, I think he's very gifted as a defensive player, so he's going to be fine anywhere you put him. I bet you can probably get the job done at short or second if he had to also.
Mm-hmm. What do you remember Baggies being the hardest thing about making that move?
You know,
or was it just too long ago to remember?
It was, yeah. But no, you know, it's more plays are made to your backhand at first base, and more plays are made to your glove hand at third base. So it's getting used to the backhand. You know, and then it's your footwork. It's running over to first base, finding out where the ball is, not striding too early to get out there so you don't have mobility. Just little things like that, but the more and more you play it, I truly believe. I mean, I wish I could have been a shortstop, but I certainly did love my time playing first base.
When you made that conversion from third base to first base, Bob Robertson worked with you. You only had about 10 days in spring training to learn that position.
Yeah, well, they gave me the old question of you want to play third base in AAA or first base in the big leagues, and not being the brightest guy in the world, I could figure that one out. But I was going to go to Cincinnati and start opening day for us, so. You know, it's certainly, I love first base. I think it's a great position. I think it's a very underrated position. I think it's very easy to be average at first base, but it's very difficult to be great at first base. And if you listen to the Yankees talk, that's all they've been raving about is how Teixeira has really helped that infield so much to make that team a better team. You know, and generally you don't hear many things like that about first basemen, but it's nice to hear it.
Who do you see that you like in the National League defensively at first base?
Golly.
Adrian Gonzalez is good, but he's left-handed.
Yeah, he is. Well, I mean, it's definitely a position to be left-handed. It makes it a lot easier. You know, I like our first baseman. I like Lance. I think Lance does a nice job. You know, there's some good ones out there. I guess I'm getting a little bit old, a little bit farther past the game as much to really recognize as much right now. But it certainly is a position where I think even organizations are starting to really concern themselves and make sure that the kid that can actually over there can actually play.
Time now for our AT&T trivia question. How much was a gallon of gas in 1965?
I'm going to go with 39 cents.
Okay. It wasn't that high? Ooh, that's too high, JD. All right. Let's roll back those prices for a few days here, and we'll all
we got a balk.
Yeah. Adrian Johnson, the second base umpire, calling the balk on Paulino. And that gets Schneider to third base with 2 outs. Started to move that hand. And he stopped.
Well, I could get on my soapbox about the balk rule now, but I won't.
Because there was no intent to deceive anyone.
I think once you come set, any kind of movement, and then you stop, I absolutely agree with that. But that little move there, I think, is silly. But I can understand the pressure on the umpire if it's in the rule book to call it. Or else he's going to get screamed at by the Phillies side if he doesn't.
Ball one to Rollins. Paulino with 86 pitches behind him in this game. Trying to get J-Roll and maintain the lead. 1-1.
That is a pulling guard right there. Oh, man, some broad shoulders.
It's 2 balls and a strike.
So the Bach rule says if a pitcher is in contact with the rubber, any motion that mimics isn't the right word, but anything that would start his natural motion and then he stops, it's a Bach. How do you define starting your delivery?
Well, he moved his hand up toward his glove, and apparently that's the way Adrian Johnson defined it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I think it's open to interpretation. It just depends on how much of a stickler you want to be.
That's a ground ball to first right there if he hits it.
Now it's a 3-1 count with Polanco on deck. Rollins takes a stroll. That's the 4th walk for Polanco. For Paulino, rather. So Polanco's coming up next. Polanco 1 for 2. Well, Paulino had 90 pitches now.
Yeah, you know, and Bud Norris had a short night last night, 2 2/3, and he had to go to the bullpen. It's early in the season, so you're dealing with mostly fresh arms out there. But that's a concern when you get towards the back end of your rotation. If you got young pitchers and you have issues with pitch counts, you put a lot of stress on the bullpen.
Polanco was fooled on that one. There's strike 1.
That's the one where you're already out there. You say, I might as well just finish this off.
Keep on going.
Yeah, the club record 6 runs batted in the opener for the Phillies. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cubs beat the Reds 4-3 today. Carlos Zambrano won that one. Runner going for second, and no play made on Rollins. 2 balls and a strike. Second steal of the year for Rollins.
A pretty good jump. Q just decides to hang on with the man down there on third base. Infielders holding their ground.
2 balls and 2 strikes.
The thing with a guy like Polanco, who's so good with the bat and makes such good contact, if you break to cover the bag on that first and third steal situation, you create some holes in that infield that he could really take advantage of.
Phillies, going back to their last regular season game last year, have had at least 11 hits in 5 straight regular season games. Quintero and Paulino worked together over the winter on conditioning here in Houston, with Felipe staying here and doing those workouts and shedding some pounds, getting himself in top shape with Q, and their wives put together a diet plan so they'd be fit to open the season. It's a big year for Paulino. He won that 5th starter job in spring training. Looked sharp this spring. Little chop goes foul. The Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation is occupying 2.5 sections tonight. Rick Thurman, Sarah Blackman are here along with them, having a really fine night at the ballpark. It is a gorgeous evening. Got in on him, and a fly ball goes to Jason Michaels in center. Paulino gets Polanco, and it's no runs, no hits. A couple of men left in the middle of the 4th inning. The Astros have a 5-4 lead. Houston leads at 5-4 in the bottom of the fourth inning. It's pitcher Felipe Paulino leading it off. 1 out in the third. He doubled over the head of Jason Worth in right field. That triggered a 5-run inning on 7 hits. And there's strike one as the Astros sent 11 batters to the plate in the third. Paulino will try to get to first base, but Polanco throws him out. Our Coors Light Cold Hard Blast shows you blast number 1 of the season for the Astros comes from Jason Michaels. 2-run homer in the third.
Kind of cut a fastball in on his hands and left it out over the plate. Coming down the heels of the Paulino double. And the rally was on.
Jason earlier lined out to second. He's 1 for 2 in this game. Moyer has pitched in 4 different decades. There's ball 1. From Sellersville, Pennsylvania, went to St. Joseph's in Pennsylvania.
Jerry Hunsicker went to school.
That's right.
And his son-in-law, Digger Phelps.
Jamie came up with the Cubs. He's been with Texas, St. Louis, Baltimore, Boston, long time with Seattle. That's hit hard, but Rollins is right there to field a 1-hopper. J. Mike's having a good night tonight with a bat. Trivia question is going to be answered right here, gents. AT&T wanted to know a gallon of gas, 1965, 31 cents.
Wow. What were you driving back then, Brownie?
Boy, 1965. Nothing of mine. I was
Fury or something.
Borrowing my parents.
Bonanza.
Tom Jones.
He was the new artist. Probably singing "She's a Lady."
Might have been. Jeff Keppinger takes, and that's ball 1. We can't stump JD on music.
I was driving a Schwinn.
Yeah. Backhanded. Polanco throws to Howard. In the fourth, Moyer keeps his club down by 1, 5-4. What's new at AT&T? Your Texas Ford dealers on the 2010 F-150. By State Farm Insurance. By Whataburger. And by Gullo Automotive. KBR Plaza outside. There's number 5 and number 7 playing some catch from first and second base. And the youngsters run the bases out there. We go to the 5th inning. We have Jeff Bagwell with us, and very pleased he's going to be with us every Saturday night for home games. There's ball 1 to Chase Utley. And Lance Berkman said, well, Jeff knows this, but you sit up in that booth and the game looks awfully easy.
That's what Hunter told me today. He goes, oh, now you're going to know everything, right? And I said, absolutely not. I watched you guys play against Lincecum the other night, and I had no thoughts that I could still play.
How tough is that to face that pitching staff?
It's not that fun, I'll tell you that.
Matt Cain, a hard thrower with good stuff.
That's like when we used to go into Atlanta. You get Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine. It's like, okay, that's great.
Yeah, and then even Avery, when he first came up, he was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Millwood, I mean.
Ryan Howard, one of the top hitters in the game today. He just has tremendous plate coverage and power.
And he's got a ton of little gnats that are on base for him every time he comes up.
Good point.
You know, it's a great place for him to hit right there with Rollins, Polanco, and Utley in front of you. Not taking anything away from him. He's a great hitter, but it's a nice little luxury to have. It's kind of the same for me when I came up in the 90s when I had Craig. You know, Craig would be running all around the bases, and I just have to take 2 pitches, and he was on third base, and all I have to do is hit a ground ball to get an RBI. So, certainly a luxury to hit in a lineup like this.
There's an extreme shift on, temperature way out in right field. And that's the way most teams will play. Ryan Howard. Chris Sampson's warming up because 101 pitches have been thrown by Paulino.
If Felipe can make it through this inning, he will qualify for the win.
That's a big time shift. Looks like a softball game with Keppinger out in shallow right. Howard, of course, well established by now, Jeff, but can a guy like Ryan Howard really improve very much from this point on, do you think?
Well, I would think he can. I think in his mind he does. I think he probably would like, I don't know what he hit for average last year. I'm not exactly positive, but I'm sure he thinks he could be a better average hitter. To try and hit 300 to add with those power numbers.
279?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he probably thinks he could hit for a higher average, which is great because you want to stay hungry and you want to be better. I don't think anybody's ever hit 1,000 before, so you always have to strive to get better each and every year because people are really going to adjust to you also.
3 balls and 2 strikes.
It's a similar pattern that Felipe had last time with Howard. He got ahead of him 0-2 back in the 3rd inning and walked him. He got ahead of Worth 0-2 and ultimately gave up that double.
He won't throw him a fastball here, will he? Because that fastball when he walked him was nowhere close. Bouncer. Nice job to get him on the 3-2 pitch. Let's go to Bart.
Well, fans, Hunter's Lodge, presented by Gallery Furniture, is available for every Astros home game. Get a field box ticket near right field and a one-of-a-kind Hunter Pence t-shirt for just $30. You can also take advantage of this offer with a great 6-game flex plan. Visit Astros.com to get your tickets and sit out in Hunter's Lodge. That's a great place to watch a game, especially at that price, Bill.
Sure is. That was a big pitch there to get Howard, Jeff.
It sure was. As we talked about with this lineup, too, I mean, it just keeps coming. It never stops. I mean, Abanez over there, he had 30 homers and 100. I think Worth had 30 homers and almost 100 RBIs. They just keep coming and coming and coming. So there's no room for free passes. You certainly don't want to walk a lot of these guys because they have so much power and so much ability to hit the ball in the gap that you got to try and get each guy right away. At least let them hit their way on.
I thought it was interesting before that 3-2 pitch. Q signaled for the pitch, and then he kind of pumped his fist and said, come on, let's make this pitch, because as Brownie mentioned, last time the 3-2 fastball was way outside. He tried to overthrow it, and I think Q was just saying, hey, trust yourself, give me a good low fastball, make them work to go down and get it, and see if we can get a positive result.
Good pitch, and it's 1-2. Now, these two have had a chance to do some bonding.
They did. They were here at 7 o'clock, 7:15 in the morning every single day, 5 days a week, this whole entire offseason.
Sounds like somebody else was here to watch them. You?
No, Dennis was. I was there about 10.
2-2. Fastball hit in the air, and Hunter Pence comes over, and Paulino has a 1-2-3 fifth. 5-4 Astros. Very entertaining evening here on Turn Back the Clock night in this throwback game with throwback uniforms. It's 5-4. Houston leading Philadelphia, bottom of the 5th inning. Hunter Pence hit a 2-run homer to tie it in the 3rd after Jason Michaels had hit a 2-run homer.
Well, time to play a little add-on now. This would be a real nice win if you can hang on and get it with Roy Halladay taking the hill tomorrow for the Phils.
It's 1-1. Hunter's home run was the 9th of his career in 71 at bats against the Phillies. He's a .348 hitter against them. Off the end of the bat, out to Moyer. Got a few of those easy plays tonight. 1 out.
You haven't said enough with that fastball or cutter in.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick outside over here.
It's working pretty well. Carlos Lee went to right field in the 3rd. He was sailing along. He retired the first 8 before the Paulino double. Paulino now over 100 pitches, probably out of this game. Lee's 1 for 2. You brought up the point about Howard and all the men on base in this Phillies lineup. And the opposite has been true for these Astros hitters. Most of the time in these early games, they've come up with nobody on base.
Yeah, and then when they do get them, then they get a little antsy and start to get a little jumpy and swing at pitches probably they shouldn't swing at. So that's all part of the process. I mean, it happens throughout the year, individually and team-wise, where you just try and do a little bit too much because things aren't really happening for you at that particular time.
One and 2 to El Caballo. Phillies on deck.
This big boy right here can hit, though. You don't have to ever worry about this guy. He's going to be right there at the end with his 300 and his 20 or 30 and 100. He's just a great hitter.
Victorino waiting in center. 2 outs. Let's join Bart Ennis.
Well, fans, we're in the home stretch for the 2010 census. It's not too late. Fill out and mail back your census form today. That's as close as I'm going to get to government work, Brownie. Back to you.
Pedro Feliz, the batter. He's 1 for 2. Pedro will turn 35 in early May. Little roller. He might be able to beat this. Yeah, it stays fair, and that's an infield roller for a hit for Phillies.
He almost looks guilty, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's smiling.
Look at me. Look what I can do.
Chris Johnson comes up. He had a sharp drive off Moyer's leg and then beat it out when the ball trickled behind the mound. He's 1 for 2.
So these Philly uniforms, there hasn't been a lot of change over the years. I mean, this doesn't look that different than what they're wearing nowadays.
That's true.
Besides their name on the back, that's probably about it.
Yeah.
Jeff, I know you've seen the Astros minor leaguers. You've made a tour of the system. Of course, Chris was hurt part of the time last year. Have you seen much of Chris in the minor leagues?
I have. Chris has all the ability to be a very, very good Major League Baseball player. The only time he gets in trouble is when he kind of overthinks. He gets in big situations and kind of gets into the swing mode. Instead of trying to be patient. And that's another thing that takes time. And he has to realize the situation that's at hand and to calm himself down. But he certainly has power, tons of power. He's a good defensive third baseman. So I'm excited. He's a great kid. And I really hope he just continues to develop.
Line drive up the right field line. That's a nice job. And Phillies goes first to third on the opposite field hit by Johnson. With 2 strikes in the count.
That's a pretty good 2-strike approach there.
That was great. That's what we talked about in the beginning is being able to take what he gives you. And that you couldn't have done it any better right there.
That's 9 hits for the Astros. They had 9 in the opener, so that ties their best for a game this year. Tommy Manzella 1 for 2 with an RBI. Strike 1 for Moyer. Before tonight, starting pitchers had given up just 3 earned runs against the Astros in 24 2/3 innings. 74 pitches for Moyer, 32 of them coming in that third.
A big chance here for Tommy Manzella. Push one more run across. Not going to happen.
Jason Worth moving in. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left after 5. 5-4 Houston. Cam, and we need to freeze this one. It got out of here like a shot. Hunter Pence with a 2-run homer in the 3rd inning. Hit it off the railroad tracks. His on the other side of that left field foul pole. The Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by the Brewed Coors Light. That was number 1 of the year for Hunter. The Astros had a pair of 2-run homers there in that 3rd inning when they took the lead 5-4. Beautiful night here. Bill Brown, Jim Deshaies, Jeff Bagwell. We've watched the Astros come back from a 4-0 deficit to lead it now 5-4. And for the first time, the bullpen has a lead this year. This call to the bullpen is being brought to you by Verizon Wireless, and it's Chris Sampson.
Yeah, they have a lead, but they've got a lot of work to do. 4 innings yet now for the bullpen. And, Chris Sampson was worked awfully hard the first half of last year, and same thing going this year into his 4th ball game already. You look at the early season numbers for Chris. Felipe Paulino tonight, 5 innings, qualifying for the win if the Astros can hang on. He threw 109 pitches in those 5 innings. The Spacettes are here, the astronauts.
An unusual night. Raul Ibanez leads it off. He's 0 for 2. Bouncer up the middle. Backhanded. Keppinger with a strong throw. That's nice to get 1 out on 1 pitch.
The Philly hitters will see a different approach here. Paulino, a guy who tries to blow you away. Sampson, a guy who pitches to contact.
Last night he gave up a hit, but that was followed by a double play ball, and he needed only 7 pitches in his scoreless inning last night. Brad Mills was saying before the game tonight he got him out because he wanted him to be available for this one. And now it's Victorino. He's grounded out twice to the first baseman. Phillies moves in tight at first. That's a quality pitch for strike 1. Astros have 9 hits to the Phillies 4.
Managers have to think like that too. When your number 4 starter goes to 2 1/3 innings, then all of a sudden you know that you got a guy that hasn't seen hitters for a while. That there's a chance he might not be able to go deep in the game. So you got to save some bullets in there.
Strikeout.
Sampson off to a great start here. 2 quick outs. The punch out comes on a good slider down and in. Dog Day is presented by HEB. It's tomorrow, 1:05 start here with the Phillies. Special seating for you and your dog. Activities start at 9:45. It's also Price Matters Days presented by HEB. That's every Sunday. You'll get a View Deck 2 ticket, a dog chip soda. Don't swing at that pitch. I'm still reading. For only $10. You can get that at Astros.com. So Dog Day tomorrow and Price Matters Day.
You have a dog, don't you, JD?
I do have a dog. Tim the dog.
You gonna bring Tim?
Probably not.
How about taking Tim on a road trip? That hasn't happened before.
There we go. That'd go over real well. Hey, Barry, I'm going to bring my little Cocker Spaniel on the plane. What do you think?
Take him down for breakfast in the morning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Schneider has struck out and walked. How about you, Baggy? Any dogs in your household now?
I got 2. I got Wendy and Flurry.
Yeah.
The girls, they each got a dog, and the problem with taking on the road trip is the dogs don't sleep in.
Isn't that the truth? 2 and 2. And the worst part is when at 3:30 in the morning they decide they're hearing something outside the house and they need to alert everybody. Pitcher Spot is up next. Moyer with a jacket on in the on-deck circle. No warm-up activity.
Checking.
They do. He didn't go. Tim McClellan with a call, 3 and 2. Schneider, 33 years old, a backup catcher for Carlos Ruiz. He was with the Mets last year, came up with Montreal. A little chop goes foul. This bullpen, not entirely healthy right now, Jeff, seems to have some pretty good depth for Houston this year.
Yeah, they do. I think that was a kind of a question mark a little bit coming into spring training. We weren't quite sure because, when you lose your closer and your setup guy, that's obviously difficult. And, they look like they're going to do a nice job for us. And I think they got some arms that can go more than just one day. They can pitch multiple days in a row. And that's huge. And that's something we're coming back to talking about. If you know that, your starter that night went 2 1/3, you can put a guy out there and still know that you can use him the next night.
You know, we were talking about the Giants series when they were here, and there was a lot of talk about the fact that Bruce Bochy put Zito in between Lincecum and Kane, and everybody said, well, the reason why he's doing it is because 2 power righties, you put the soft lefty in between. But I think part of that may be, too, is for that reason, is because I think with Lincecum and Kane, he feels like those are 2 guys who are going to pitch deep into a lot of games, whereas Barry's a guy I might have to lean on my bullpen a little bit more, so you might as well split those 2 horses up. And, you know, sometimes when you think about rotation management, that makes a little bit more sense than just going ace, 2, 3, 4, you know, kind of.
Because to a hitter, if I face 2 hard guys in a row, I don't really care. That doesn't make it easier or harder or whatever. Maybe a little bit different in a game where you face a guy throwing 95 and you bring in a knuckleball guy in the same game.
Right, but from night to night.
Night to night, it just doesn't matter.
1-2. Moyer is down on strike. Good inning for Sampson with a couple of strikeouts to keep the Astros in the lead, 5-4. To bat in the bottom half of the 6th. The Astronauts, the SpaceX are all turning the clock back here tonight, and let's turn the clock back in this date in Astros history. It's brought to you by MD Anderson, the MD Anderson Cancer Center, making cancer history. 1965, Chuck Farrell, the only Astro to make the All-Star team that summer. A team that finished 65 and 97, finishing 9th in the National League. Humberto Quintero takes ball 1. Bullpen action for the Astros with Jeff Blum on deck. The pinch hit for Chris Sampson. Quintero tries to get it started with the Astros up by 1. Phillies have had 7 straight winning seasons now. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Moyer signed a 2-year deal prior to last season. There's Blum getting ready to pinch hit. Philadelphia's ballpark, a tough place to pitch. Rollins just barely got him. It almost took too much time.
Q got that running start out of the box. Got him down the line a little bit quicker than normal. J-Roll just kind of looked up and said, whoops.
I figured I got Quintero, I got plenty of time, and then he looks up and says, wait a minute, I better hurry this thing. It's all that work he did this winter paying off.
Yeah. Almost got himself an infield hit. Really close. That was an eyelash call at first. Andy Fletcher, and it's Jeff Plum now pinch hitting for Chris Sampson, who in one inning allowed no hits, no runs. Sampson had 1 walk and 2 strikeouts.
Those catcher's legs a little fresher in April than they will be in August.
No doubt.
This is Blummer's 5th right-handed at bat. He's 0 for 4. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 for 12 overall this season. Jason Michaels on deck. Foul ball.
Astros 1 out of 7 in the pinch so far here in 2010.
Corey Sullivan had that 2-run pinch triple. Well, if Blummer can get something started here with 1 out, only a 1-run lead, the Astros would like to give their bullpen a little more working room, as you mentioned earlier. Moyer can't play it. There's Utley, and he comes up with it. And a nice dig by Ryan Howard.
2 very close plays down there at first base. Bobby Meacham has something to say. The fans have a lot to say.
Andy Fletcher made the call at first.
Jamie trying to square it behind him. The ball just jumped over his glove. Howard maybe cheating a little bit down there.
That's what we're paid to do. He's still on there.
Yeah, he is. It amazes me in real time so many times. It looks like the first baseman's leaving early, and then we show the replay, and he's still there.
The only time you really do it is when you know the guy's going to be safe. So you just come off way early.
Nothing to lose. Start throwing it around the horn.
Yeah.
Michaels 1 for 3, but he's hit the ball on the button. That one to right field, sends Worth over to his left. And Moyer enjoys a 1-2-3-6 with the Astros up 5-4. In 65 games last year, he was 6-5 with a 2.86 ERA. Then signed a 3-year deal as a free agent to join the Astros bullpen.
Yeah, had a nice year for Detroit, especially the second half of last season. You look at the numbers overall. What jumps out at me is that 205 batting average against. Awfully tough to hit. Last season was Brandon Lyon. Fastball, curve, slider, and a change.
Night is coming. It's been gorgeous out. Very entertaining evening for the fans on this throwback night. Chris Sampson worked a hitless 6th inning, and now it's Lyon in the 7th against the top of the lineup, Rollins, Polanco, and Utley.
Yeah, arguably this is going to be our two biggest innings coming up here, 7th and 8th. I know the 9th is tough, but we got to face 1 through 6 here is going to be pretty tough on us. So hopefully get ahead of these guys and keep Rollins off the base.
Rollins fouls it back. Strike one to J. Roll, who's 0 for 2 with a run scored and a walk. Stolen base as well. He can be a real catalyst for a scoring inning. He led off. There was one stat last year. He led off 293 innings, and they scored in 209 of them. And he's that type of guy. Not only can he get on base and steal if he gets on first, but also can provide the extra base hits and just a really good leadoff man.
And plenty of doubles and triples. He doesn't walk a lot, though, does he?
No. Ground ball, good play there. Phillies to his left. Gets Rollins.
Good start.
Rollins had only 44 walks last year. He had 672 at bats.
Wow. That's a lot of at bats, too.
Of
course, they keep knocking the ball around the park. That's why he's getting all those at bats.
Lineup turns over quite a bit.
Yep.
One down, and it's Polanco. Polanco 1 for 3.
If I only walked 44 times in a season, I would have ended up being like a 230 career hitter. I needed those walks.
It's ball 1 to Polanco. Just wondering, as you mentioned, you're going through the top 3 hitters here in the 7th inning. If Lyon might be staying in if he has a 1-2-3-7. He hasn't pitched since Tuesday. Depends on the pitch count, probably. 1-1. Chad Durbin's warming up for Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing where the Astros are in the batting order. Keppinger's due up next inning. That's a 2-hole in the lineup. So I think if things go well for Lyon, he will be back out there because Brad Mills' plan this year is to finish games with Lyon and Lindstrom. So the fact that he's got Lyon in there in the 7th makes me think that he's going to go to these two guys to finish his game.
Pence. 2 down. And we were talking with him a little bit in spring training, and Jeff, you don't really know until you see a manager make moves during a game that counts, but philosophically, would you bring in your closer in the 8th inning? We asked with a couple of men on base and 2 outs. He said, yeah, I would do that.
Of course. They've done that with Mariano Rivera a ton. We've done it with Billy Wagner and Lidge and all that kind of stuff. So I think you have to. I mean, those innings are as important as any inning, especially when you're facing the type of hitters that you're going to see here in the 7th and 8th inning.
Chase Utley takes ball 1. Lyon might have been the closer, but he was not healthy at the beginning of spring training. He had a cyst drain from his right shoulder, and he was a couple of weeks behind the other pitchers. He was a setup man, had 15 holds, 3 saves last year for Detroit.
I could just go old school and let him go Gossage and leave him in there for all 3 innings.
Ooh, that would be a throwback game.
Throwback. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Fit the theme of the evening if they do that. No, it's not. Brandon, 30 years old, from Salt Lake City, Utah. His sister lives in Katy. 3-0. Cardinals' 5th starter, the lefty Jaime Garcia won today at Milwaukee, beating Yovani Gallardo.
Gallardo's off to a tough start.
He sure is. Cardinals won that one 7-1. Gallardo has an ERA of 6.75, and he's 0-2. As the #1 starter for the Brewers. Good movement for Lyon, and that takes the count full on Utley.
Yeah, great sink on this pitch.
That was just a textbook pitch, the way it sank to that spot where Quintero caught it. But ball 4 puts Utley on. Now Ryan Howard.
Laid off a pretty close pitch, and then that kind of goes back to the theme we've been talking about all night long with these Philly hitters. You're in a one-run game, so you don't want to give in because they're so dangerous. And they just, Brandon didn't give in, and Utley didn't give in either. Laid off a borderline pitch, drew the walk.
Here's a guy who really loves to hit in these situations. Getting late in the game, the ability to give his club the lead. That cut in on his hands, and he fouled it for strike 1. Howard is 1 for 2 against Lyon in his career. It really is a totally different situation here, as you mentioned, for the Astro bullpen. With both the 8th and 9th inning pitchers moving on through free agency. 2 brand new guys coming in. One and one. Chris Johnson all by himself on the left side of the Astros infield, with Manzella on the first base side of second.
I used to be terrified of those situations. We used to do that to Mark McGuire, that I had to be on that side by myself. And when he pops those balls up, I was terrified.
Yeah. Snap throw to first. Back in.
I imagine Utley's going to stay put and let Howard hit here with 2 outs, but you got to keep an eye on him. He stole 23 bases last year, was not caught. Not caught once. 23 out of 23.
Wow.
And then remember when Dirk used to do the 4 outfield deployment when Big Mac was hitting?
Oh, yeah,
that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was. High drive, left center field. That one's going on a long ride. Ryan Howard gives the Phillies a lead, 6-5 here in the 7th inning. Home run number 3 of the season.
6th time he's gone deep in this ballpark, and that's a huge swing of the bat for the Phillies, but it doesn't happen if not for the at bat by Chase Utley, laying off that 3-2 pitch. So they show you the patience and then the power. We'll take you through Howard's at bat. Ryan starts him with a slider in, and he yanks foul, and a little backdoor breaking pitch. He's seen a lot of pitches tonight. Trying to crowd him with that cutter, and then a fastball in the happy zone. And that's his stroke. He's got great power left center field. Well, he's got great power anywhere.
He does drive that ball away really well. Strike 1 to Jason Worth, who's driven in 3. No balls, 2 strikes. Keppinger, Pence, and Lee 2 up for the Astros in the bottom half of this 6-5 ball game in the 7th. Out into right center field. That will loop in for a hit. Worth is on. He's had a big night. Phillies have hit 5 home runs now in their first 5 games. They're an explosive bunch. 6 runs on 6 hits for them tonight. Here's Ibanez. He's 0 for 3. Strike for Lyon.
They just keep coming at you. They just keep coming and coming and coming. Great at bat by Utley. And that ball was smashed. The one Howard just hit.
Whoa. That is some serious leverage.
Yeah.
Oh, 0-2. Here's where it landed. Wow. Just under the railroad tracks.
That's a long way opposite field.
Boy. Left-handed hitter driving the ball that high and that far.
Yeah.
It's impressive. One and two.
How many bases did Jason Worth steal last year? He stole about 20 or 30.
Yeah, he can run too. Talking earlier about Polanco being underrated. Same with Worth.
Yeah, he's really come into his own.
Worth was 20 of 23. 87%, second best percentage in the league. Pitch out there.
Next to his teammate.
Yeah. That's what you were speaking to. Just all this talent loaded in one lineup. You'd hate to be a bench player on this team.
Yeah, you're not playing very much.
They have some good pinch hitters, and Ross Gloat, Greg Dobbs from the left side. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes for Lyon.
Jason Worth will be a free agent at the end of this season. A lot of speculation that he will move along. The Phillies have that young kid, Dominic Brown, in the minor leagues that apparently is just a stud.
They're really high on him. They got Philippe Almond, a left-handed pitcher, in the Cliff Lee deal from Seattle. And he made his first start of the year. Pretty pleased to have him in their organization. They also got an outfielder in that deal named Taylor. 3 balls, 2 strikes. So that's why they didn't keep Cliff Lee after they got Halladay. They wanted to get prospects back in return after giving up Kyle Drabek and the other prospects in the deal for Halladay.
Kyle make the big league team?
No, he didn't. No. Well, they're going. The tap goes foul, but he had a very impressive spring, Baggy, and it wouldn't be surprising at all to see him with the Blue Jays pretty soon.
That'd be great. Good for Dougie.
Dougie's a pitching coach in A-ball.
I know
this
he
year.
is. I know he is. And I bet he's a pretty darn good one, too.
Yeah. 3-2 with 2 outs for Ibanez. 35,138 the paid attendance. Great night to be out watching a sporting event. Ground ball right side past the diving Phillies on through. Worth to third base on the single by Ibanez. It all happened with 2 outs. Walk, homer, 2 singles.
Brandon's approaching 30 pitches in this inning now.
Nobody warming up at the moment.
Victorino's been one guy who's been quiet for the Phillies so far in this series. 0 for 5 last night, 0 for so far tonight.
Two ground outs and a strikeout for the flying Hawaiian. Strike for Lyon. He's been hit on some sliders in this inning. Into right field. It's 7-5 Phillies. Victorino hit that one mostly with his right hand, and it's 4 straight hits now with 2 outs. Victorino gets his 3rd run batted in.
He got hurt on the breaking ball again there. He's got good movement on his sinker tonight. And, you see the frustration in the eyes of Brandon Lyon. Left the breaking ball up a little bit. Victorino gets his first hit of the series. Just 2 out of 21 prior to that swing of the bat.
Lyon had a spotless outing and his first as an Astro on Tuesday. Now trailing 7-5. It'll be Schneider.
Tim Burdack up in the pen again for the Astros. He was up a little bit earlier. And he should be ready to go if Brad Mills wants to go in that direction.
Seems like he's got some real good movement on his sinker. I've seen some kind of 2 weird swings on fastballs that you don't normally see. One by Utley and one by Victorino.
Yeah, you know, as pitchers, we're guilty quite often of overthinking it too. You're talking about hitters sometimes thinking too much. Pitchers sometimes, you have success with a pitch. They think, okay, so the guy's sitting on that, so I'm going to throw him something else, and you kind of shelve what maybe your best weapon.
Bouncer goes to Milt Thompson, who's coaching first tonight. He's the hitting coach. But Davey Lopes away from the club. His brother passed away.
That's what happens when we get back in the dugout. We go, thank God he didn't throw me that pitch again.
Lefty hitting Greg Dobbs is on deck. Pitcher spot due up next. So Burdak is working in the pen in case he does come up, it would appear. One ball, one strike to Brian Schneider. Good experienced backup for Ruiz. Now it's 2-1. Phillies have action in their bullpen now that they have a 7-5 lead by virtue of this 3-run 7th. It's been a long 7th inning for Lyon. He's facing his 8th batter.
Some very long innings in this game.
Well, Jamie Moyer now has watched the turnaround.
Yeah, how about that?
Stayed in the game. He could be the winner.
Like a fighter that got pummeled there in the 3rd round. Managed to get to his corner, come out and throw a couple of more zeros.
And he got a call. Schneider caught looking for a strikeout for Lyon. The Phillies grab the lead with 3 in the 7th on 4 hits. They leave 2. 7-5 Philadelphia. It's been an interesting game tonight.
Yeah, as we were just talking about, we've had some long innings, some well-pitched innings, but we're on the wrong end of this going on right now.
Well, one of those crazy type games that could break either way. Now Chad Durbin is going in for the Phillies in relief of Jamie Moyer, and he had that staying power tonight to then come back after the 5-run 3rd inning and get 3 zeros after that, Jeff.
Yeah, well, he kept his pitch count down. Even though he had that big inning where he did throw 30, he had a bunch of innings where he probably only threw 7 or 8. So when you do that, you have the ability to stay in the game because the manager doesn't have to take you out being a veteran like he is, he trusts him back there.
Yeah, and I like what Charlie Manuel did too. Jamie came up to bat in the 6th inning. There's 2 outs and a man on. And I think a lot of managers might have pinch hit at that point, but one, he wants to get Moyer a chance to win, and pitch count was down. And he knows he has so much firepower. He's down a run. He probably feels like, he's got a real good chance to come back. So now he's got a chance to get Moyer a win here.
32-year-old Chad Durbin on the mound. He made 59 appearances for the Phillies last year. Jeff Keppinger at the plate. Strike for Durbin at 91 miles per hour. Moyer in 6 innings allowed 9 hits, 5 runs. He walked 1, did not have a strikeout. Durbin missing with the slider. The count goes to 1-1. Chad began his career with Kansas City. He's been with Cleveland, Washington, and Detroit. He had 87 innings at relief in 08 for the Phillies. 1-2. The Phillies' late inning situation different now without Lidge and without lefty J.C. Romero. So their closer is Ryan Madson.
Madson got some opportunities to save games for the Phillies last year as well.
Durbin missing, goes to 2-2 in the count. Chad had a good spring with a 2.19 ERA. Into right field with Worth coming. 1 out. And it's Hunter Pence batting.
Phillies also have Dennis Baez out there in their bullpen. They signed him, a free agent pickup from Baltimore. The veteran Jose Contreras. We saw both those guys last night. Contreras showing the ball really well last night.
Mid-90s. Pence hit a 2-run homer in the 3rd. Hunter's 1 for 3. And it's ball 1. This is Durbin's 2nd appearance of this season. He went 2 scoreless innings in his first appearance, and he's gone 2 innings in relief several times in recent years. 1-1. Phillies relievers have allowed just 2 earned runs in 14 innings for a 1.29 ERA and an 0-1 record this season. Line to Howard.
Catch that, you have to be out of position.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would he be so close? You're not guarding the line with a 2-run game in the 8th inning, the 7th inning.
Carlos Lee looks at strike 1. He's 1 for 3. Moyer threw 84 pitches, 54 for strikes. It's 0-2 with Phillies on deck. One ball, 2 strikes. You homered off this guy in 0-1, Baggy.
Did I?
3-run shot.
Kansas City?
Let's see where he was then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mean you don't remember all your home runs? 2-2. There were only 449 of them.
I remember a lot, but not them all.
Talked to your buddy Larry Anderson over the Phillies radio broadcast booth earlier tonight about that trade.
Larry used to call me periodically when I was struggling, saying, "Come on, you need to step it up. You're not talking about me anymore."
Larry said he always hears from a lot of the media around July 31st every year when he was traded for you about this being one of the worst trades in history.
Yeah.
for the Boston Red Sox. But he said, hey, you know, the general manager was happy with it. Lou Gorman. I gave him a good couple of months. We made the playoffs.
Hey, I totally understand it. If I was a big league guy and I knew we could get a reliever to come over and trade away some Punch and Judy third baseman in Double-A, I would have done the same thing.
Strikeout for Durbin. That ends the 7th inning with the Phillies up by 2, 7-5.
(7-5) Phillies as we move to the 8th here at Minute Maid. Tomorrow, the Astros and Phillies will play the series finale at 1:05, and you can bring the whole family out for Family Sundays presented by Minute Maid and Kroger. Enjoy a kids zone in Union Station with inflatables and great family activities. Go to Astros.com to get your tickets to be here for Family Sunday. Bill?
Thank you, Bart. Now it's a 7-5 Phillies lead. They're batting in the 8th inning. Tim Burdack in the game for Houston. Here's Ben Francisco pinch hitting for the pitcher Durbin. And Francisco, an outfielder, takes ball 1. Burdack in 2 games with an ERA of 4.5. He gets a pop-up foul. Feliz comes over in front of the Astros dugout. Now back the other way and fails to make the play. An error on Feliz, his first.
I think this is the first error by a non-pitcher for the Astros this year.
You're right.
Might have a little bit to do with the wind right there. Getting back up with that backspin on that ball. Of course, I'm trying to cover up for the first baseman.
That's all right.
Francisco takes that one. It's 2 balls and a strike. Yeah, it looked that way. It looked like the wind pushed it back toward the mound. 33 career home runs for Ben Francisco. He was obtained in a trade last year. He's a good defensive player. Could fit in the outfield should they have an injury. Gets an occasional start.
Got some pop at 15 home runs last year between Philadelphia and Cleveland. I think Dennis Baez will be next. He's getting ready in the Philly bullpen.
Francisco came from Cleveland in the Cliff Lee deal. Hunter Pence backing. Well, that error is what you call a harmless error. And it's out number 1.
That's one thing that people don't realize when they come here is how much the wind does blow in the first 2 months here. Obviously, it doesn't blow when the roof is on, but I remember being down there in April and May, and my pants were just shaking because the wind is so strong. Not sure if it actually helps the ball either out or in the ballpark, but
flags can be deceiving sometimes, can't they?
They sure can, because they're blowing that way, what you see, and it's actually going the other way.
Jimmy Rollins.
Except at Wrigley. At Wrigley, they're not deceiving.
No. What about, was Candlestick Park about the toughest place to play as far as wind conditions?
It was, just because of the amount of foul territory there was. So you had to keep running and running and running, and then all of a sudden the ball's back at first base.
Yeah, some great adventures in Candlestick.
Rollins fouls it. There have been all kinds of stories over the years about umpires calling the infield fly rule too soon. The ball ends up hitting the fence.
I almost lost us a ball game there. I remember Wags was on the mound, and I missed it right in front of home plate. He kind of just looked at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I didn't mean to do that." I'm not embarrassed.
3-1 to Rollins. Burdack pitched Monday and Wednesday in the Giants series. Gave up a homer to Mark DeRosa on opening night. Broken bat. Manzella caught it. Watch out in the on-deck circle, Polanco. That bat hit the screen pretty close to where he was standing.
A good thing that screen is there, because that would have been dangerous.
I didn't realize this. They had something in spring training where they took bats back because they didn't have the right amount of grain.
Oh, they did?
For maple.
The maple bats?
Yeah, because they're so concerned with them breaking. They have like a quality inspector that comes by and looks at people's bats.
Nice. Polanco has a single in 4 trips.
Were guys using maple when you played? Was that
just started in 2000?
They've done an exhaustive study of broken bats, collected all kinds of samples. But so many hitters have these tiny handles that generate the bat speed now, Jeff.
Most guys use probably 31-ounce bats, maybe 32. So there's not that much density to the bat.
And maple's a harder wood than ash? Is that what you're looking for with maple?
Yeah.
So he hit into left field. Polanco with another 2-hit game. He's had 5 multi-hit games out of 5 this year. Utley will bat. Utley's walked twice and scored twice. He's 0 for 2.
And Tim Burdack, the only left-hander in the Astros bullpen. If you're in the same division as the Phillies, you're going to play this club a lot. You're going to want a couple lefties in your bullpen, because you want to be able to call on left-handers to face Utley and Howard as much as possible.
Good point. To the extent that you might even have one that you would call up for that series and then send him back if you didn't need him for the next series. Utley looks at ball 1. Utley's a .295 career hitter.
Hangs in there well against southpaws.
He's just a good player. I think nowadays, more than even when I came up, a lot of these good hitting lefties, they don't really care if you're right-handed or left-handed, because they do hang in there more.
Zach Duke and Pittsburgh are blanking Arizona 5-0, bottom of the 6th. The Astros back in the Central Division on the first road trip of the year to St. Louis and Chicago. Kappinger 2 Phillies, no runs a hit, and a man stranded in the middle of the 8th, 7-5 Phillies. Felipe Paulino. Now Dennis Baez comes out of the bullpen for Philadelphia. It's 7-5. Chad Durbin had a 1-2-3 7th with a strikeout. Jamie Moyer in position to be the winning pitcher. Baez in 3 games has an ERA of 5.40.
We saw him last night. Right-hander from Cuba. As we mentioned, a free agent. The Phillies picked him up last pitch for the Baltimore Orioles. Missed all of 2008, out with an injury. Bounced back and pitched well last year. And, of course, with Legend Romero out, all these guys take on a more significant role for Charlie Manuel's Phils here in the early going.
Baez in a 1-2-3 inning last night threw 15 pitches. Pedro Feliz is 2 for 3. To be followed by Johnson and Manzella. That hangs up for Baez. 1 pitch, 1 out for him. Astros bullpen is busy. Chris Johnson's 2 for 3 tonight. Manzella comes out to the on-deck circle, getting down toward the bottom of the order. The Astros have a right-hander warming up, Matt Lindstrom. Ball 1 to Johnson. Florida leads the Dodgers 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Gabby Sanchez hit his first home run for the Marlins. It's 1-1. He gets a body turn on that, JD, before he delivers the pitch.
Yeah, really, talking earlier about pitchers hiding the ball, I suspect that Baez is a tough guy to pick the ball up against. The way he rotates that front shoulder, kind of closes up.
And he's throwing 95 too.
Yeah. Doesn't everybody?
I think so.
I don't know what's the deal here. And then when I came into the league, 90 was a plus fastball.
I agree with you.
And now it's an average fastball. I mean, are the guys that much quicker, or is it the guns?
I don't know.
I mean, in the course of your playing career, did you get the sense that more guys were throwing plus fastballs? Yeah.
No doubt. I remember 2003 sitting next to Osmus going, I think the game has passed me by. when the 12th guy in the bullpen was coming out throwing 95 a sink.
Manzella tries to get a 2-out rally going. Quintero on deck.
Yeah, I used to feel bad for opposing hitters when we used to run Dotel, Lidge, and Wagner at them late in the game. You know, you go from 95 to 97 to 99.
I know. I really didn't feel bad for him.
1-1 to Manzella. One ball, 2 strikes. Lefty Antonio Bastardo is warming up for the Phillies.
Hotel's closing for the Pirates now.
Yes, he is. He's had a nice long career.
Sure has.
Baez throws out Manzella. As a 1-2-3-8, the Astros 10 straight have been retired since their last hit in the 5th inning, and they trail the Phillies 7-5, moving to the 9th. We'll have highlights and analysis. A Halliday Oswald preview of a matchup of 2 of the great pitchers in the game today, player reaction. And we'll be back on Astros Live after the game. Now Matt Lindstrom comes in. This will be his 2nd appearance as an Astro. He pitched Tuesday, 1 scoreless inning against the Giants after going 2-1 last year. 15 saves in 17 tries, and he had a high ERA, but he was hurt part of last year, and 30-year-old closer who takes over now with the Astros down by 2.
We've seen a little bit of Matt Lindstrom over the years with the Marlins. At times we've seen him reach 100 miles an hour with his fastball. Some pretty good slider here the other night too.
Ryan Howard.
Very perky, jerky delivery. Can't imagine it's a very comfortable at bat you get against this guy.
There's another guy, JD, that's in the middle of the rubber, so that must be something to do with Brad down there.
I'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
2 balls, no strikes. And one thing that's been pretty well documented is Brad Arnsberg, pitching coach, working with Matt Lindstrom on a different grip for his slider, which he likes very much. Howard with a triple, bases loaded walk, and a 2-run homer in this game. Grounds into that shift. Yeah. Got to the long throw, and Phillies had to dig it out. That's too far for a second baseman to throw from way out in right field.
No offense, Biz, but I know you couldn't reach me from there.
How long is it going to take until you get a text message?
You guys teed me up for that one. That was too easy.
Crossed his toes up a little bit. Yeah, that's a rover to first baseman put out. The closer Madsen now up in the Philly bullpen.
Strike to Jason Worth. Worth has driven in 3 tonight with a pair of hits and a sac fly. 9 hits for the Phillies, 9 hits for the Astros. A strike call makes it 0-2 on Worth. That's some serious heat at 97 and on his hands. Madsen getting ready. The 8, 9, and 1 hitters are due up in the bottom of the ninth. It's 1-2. Phillies led 4-0. The Astros got 5 in the third. And that was one of only 2 innings in which they've had a base runner tonight. Hammered into center field. Big night for Worth. 3 hits, 3 runs batted in.
So you can tell our guys are kind of pressing a little bit. You know, the at-bats just aren't long at-bats. They're swinging more at the pitcher's pitch than getting into the at-bat. And it's very hard to tell somebody to take some pitches and all that kind of stuff. I think that's part of the lineup that we have. So I know probably fans at home are screaming and yelling that we're swinging too much at the first pitches, but it's hard just to tell somebody, oh, by the way, you're going to be a patient hitter. So, and guys press when we're struggling, so it's just something that happens.
Ibanez takes ball 1. In your experience, how likely is it for a hitter to come from the minor leagues with 5, 6, 7 years to the big leagues and become more patient in the big leagues than he has been?
I think it's very difficult to do that. I think you kind of are what you are. That being said, once you have more success, you have more confidence that you don't feel like you have to swing at the first pitch thrown at you. You know, success breeds confidence, as they say, and that's basically what happens to a young kid. Once he gets his confidence, he doesn't feel like his at-bats are rushed. They're kind of slowed down after that.
There's a particular art to hitting with 2 strikes.
I never figured that one out.
Well, there are a lot more strikeouts in the game today than there were years ago, but there are also more home runs. So it's just more of a power game right now.
It is, you know, and I think a lot of that's an excuse. I mean, I'm embarrassed by the amount of times I've struck out, but it is what it is. It's not like I was trying to strike out. It kind of happened. But yeah, the power numbers are up, so the strikeouts are up. There's guys striking out a ton now. And what I mean by a ton is there's guys over 200 now.
Mark Reynolds, yeah, he set the record last year.
And guys like Mark Reynolds, and I understand it, get upset when that keeps being brought up to them by the media all the time because he had a very good year last year, but it's the negative questions.
Yes, but what he has to understand is, you know, he hit his 40-something home runs, but he drove in, I think, just around 100 runs, 102. So how many of those strikeouts, if he had just put the ball in play, would have been RBIs? And I think that's why people keep bringing them up.
And that's another interesting point, too. You've got a runner on third and 1 out, and yet you're a certain type of power hitter. So how likely are you to say, well, okay, on this occasion, I need contact, and I'm going to, you don't just change into another hitter for that situation, do you?
Well, yeah, I do, because my point is, if you hit 40 home runs and you have 600 at-bats, what'd you do with the other 560?
Mm-hmm.
Home runs don't, it just doesn't happen all the time. So you got to be able to, you can still keep the ball in the middle of the field and still get lucky and hit a home run or react to hit a home run. But more importantly, we got to get that run in.
Mm-hmm. Victorino, the batter.
And when you say keep the ball in the middle of the field, you're talking about staying back, seeing the ball a little longer, let it get deeper, as opposed to getting out and trying to yank it.
Well, yeah, because when you have a runner on third and less than 2 outs, worst thing, there's 3 bad things you can do. 1, strike out. 2, hit it back to the pitcher and then hit it to the third baseman. And pitchers know that, so they're trying to pitch you in, so you will roll the ball over to the third baseman, which will keep that runner from scoring. So you try and stay into the big part of the field.
Carlos is a great example of doing
he's
that.
Amazing at that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that a lot of guys are unwilling to do is to adopt a 2-strike approach. You see guys taking the same swing and a 2-strike count that they take on a 3-1 count, and just
no doubt
unwilling to try to poke it the other way.
High drive to right field sends Hunter Pence turning back for the fence. 2-run homer for Victorino. And it's 9-5 Phillies on Victorino's first long ball of the year, giving him a 3 RBI game.
Conversely, when you're sitting there 2-0 and you're sitting a fastball, that's the kind of swing you're supposed to take. You got a guy that has a 98-mile-an-hour heater. You're 2-0. If you're Shane Victorino, you're pretty confident you're going to get a fastball. And he gets it started and unloads.
Four-run lead now for the Phillies, who have 11 hits. They're back in double figures in hits. Ryan Schneider with ball 1. They are just on an amazing run of hitting right now.
Yeah, that's the idea, Jimmy, right there. 2-0, get the head out. He's not looking to hit a base hit to left right there. He's looking to spin.
And you can afford to take the shot. If the guy throws you an off-speed pitch and you're way out in front, you've still got 2 strikes to play with.
Yeah, you just missed it. The key, I always say, the key to good hitting is make sure your bat swings, you don't put the ball in play.
Just go ahead and miss.
Yeah.
Coming into this game, the Phillies were leading the majors in runs. Several other departments. Batting average, slugging. 9 runs on 11 hits tonight, and they've left 8 men on. 1-2.
Well, this is a point I made late last night, and I'll say it again here tonight. This is an early season challenge for Brad Mills, a new manager with this club. They're going through some tough times. They're losing these games, and they're losing them in different ways now. The first couple games, the starting pitching was pretty good. Last 2 or 3, not so much. The bullpen was pretty good early. The first couple, and scuffling here the last 2 nights. Offense has showed the signs tonight. They had that big 5-run inning, but for the most part, the hitters haven't been able to get a whole lot done. So it's up to Brad Mills and his staff to keep everybody positive and focusing on the job at hand.
That's what happens when you start losing. You find different ways to lose.
Strikeout, and in the 9th inning, the Phillies add to their lead with 2 runs on 2 hits. They get their second long ball of the game. It comes from Victorino to make it 9-5 Phillies. Houston is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers and the 2010 F-150, by the Progressive Insurance Group, and by Southwest Airlines. Discovery Green Park in the downtown area. Beautiful night. And here it's the bottom of the 9th inning, just a few blocks from there. Ryan Madson comes out of the Phillies bullpen. He's pitcher number 4. Dennis Baez had a 1-2-3-8 with a strikeout. Not a safe situation with a 4-run lead, but Madson is now the closer with Brad Lidge working his way back.
Well, Madsen, Charlie Manuel had him up, heated up, ready to go. So even with the save opportunity gone by the boards, he calls on his big righty, 6'6" Ryan Madsen.
Nice looking uni.
He's turning the clock back, just not all the way back to 1965.
Now it's Michael Bourne pinch hitting for Quintero as the bottom of the ninth opens. Michael's hitting .235, 4 hits and 17 at bats with 1 RBI.
Madsen, fastball, curveball, slider, and a very good changeup.
That's ball 1 to Bourne. Michael 2 for 5 in last night's game. Has a 1-1 count. Corey Sullivan is on deck with a pitcher spot due up next. Jason Michaels due to bat third. These are the 2 left-handed hitters, but 2 switch hitters also on the Astros bench when this game started. Jeff Plum has already been used. Kazuo Matsui is still available. 2 balls and a strike. Madsen 6'6". He's 29 years old. Toward the left field corner, slicing into the seats. 2-2. Jamie Moyer is in line for win number 259 of his career. The active leader. Moyer's 100 start as a Philly tonight. Ground ball into the left field corner. Michael Bourne heads for second with a pinch double. First double for Bourne. 10 Astros in a row had been retired.
He works so hard at hitting the ball hard on the ground, on the line the other way. And boy, he got to pitch up. That's not easy to do.
Corey Sullivan, who had that 2-run pinch triple on Wednesday against the Giants, will try to keep it going with Jason Michaels on deck. He's 4 for 12 with a homer against Madsen. Lindstrom is leaving for the pinch hitter after working 1 inning, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 1 strikeout. And it's ball 1.
Michael can harness that stroke. He's going to have a hell of a year with that speed that he has.
Strike makes it a 1-ball, 1-strike count for Madsen, who worked 77 innings last year. Madsen had a save in the World Series last year, had a win in the division series for the Phils. 1-2, much to Sullivan's chagrin on that inside corner call. Mike Everett rings it up as a strike. Madsen's from Long Beach, California. That one stays up. 2-2. Dave Clark is the third base coach, helping Michael Bourne with his lead. Popped up foul. Out of play for Polanco. Still 2-2. Tough assignment, pinch hitting in the 9th inning. Trailing by 4. Sullivan fights that one off, hopes for a better pitch to swing at. That was a better pitch to swing at. 2-2.
And Madsen gets good life on that four-seam fastball, a little riding action. Tough to get on top of. That was what was so impressive about Michael Bourne's double. And with 2 strikes, you stay back a little bit longer because you're thinking about that off-speed pitch. It's tough to get to the good heater.
Sullivan hobbles away from home plate after fouling that one off his leg. Corey made the club as a non-roster outfielder this spring after being with the Mets last year. Had 4 years with the Rockies prior to that. Boston beat Kansas City 8-3. Josh Beckett beating Zach Greinke.
Greinke gave it up?
Yeah, I'll have to check on what his numbers were. Hermida, Youkilis, Varitek hit 2 home runs for Boston, and Pedroia. That's John West Sullivan. Foul off several pitches here.
He hit his leg again?
Yep. Rolled out to Howard. Isn't that the way it always works? You hit it once, you come back a couple minutes and hit that same spot.
Oh, knee.
That's a tough one.
I've done that.
That one caught bone big time.
The real one when I know I'm going good is when I foul one off my back knee. I've done that too.
That's the feedback you're looking for, huh?
Yeah.
Let you know you're in a groove.
Golly. Like I got no chance at it.
Both clubs in double figures now. The Astros have 10 hits to the Phillies 11. Pretty good battle.
He is battling, yeah.
Nothing else, take a piece of them with you. Make them work extra hard. Greinke gave up 4 runs in 6 2/3 tonight.
Okay. Dana Elin in Toronto beating Baltimore 3-0. With a save from Jason Frazier in that one. This will be the 10th pitch to Corey Sullivan. That's a ball to make it 3-2.
Madsen a little frustrated as Sullivan continues to battle and hang in there and reach back for a little something extra and lost command of the pitch.
Madsen 16 saves in 35 career opportunities. Ground ball to Howard. That's 1 out. Bourne takes 3rd. But this not a save situation, so he has that extra room with the 4-run lead. And it's Jason Michaels who ripped the 2-run homer in the 3rd.
Jason getting the start tonight, having a nice night. Man, real nice play in center field, hit a home run, hit the ball hard. And his next at bat.
You going to see the minor league clubs again this year, Baggy?
I am. I'm leaving Sunday to see Corpus play for 3 days. Watch Kobe play first base and hopefully get a chance to see some of those good young pitchers we got down there.
Kobe Clemens hit his first homer of the year last night. Corpus won 9-3 over Tulsa. That's a high strike call.
This is not one of those at bats with a man on third and less than 2 outs that you're just trying to hit a ground ball to second or short. We just got to have a quality at bat to try and get another base runner here.
Well, you can see John Gaston, J.B. Shuck, T.J. Steele. They're all
there.
The outfielders at Corpus Christi. They all had 2 hits last night. Good. Line to left. That'll make it 9-6. A 3 RBI game for Jason Michaels. Jeff Keppinger comes up.
Astros showing they got a little more fight left in them here tonight.
Their offense has definitely come alive in this game.
Now the caps are on. Keppinger reaches. Hunter Pence comes up representing the tying run.
Keppinger 0 for 3 with a walk. Strike for Madsen. Atlanta and San Francisco just getting underway with Todd Wellemeyer going for the Giants tonight. It's 1-1. The Astros are 26-14 against the Phillies since 2004, but Charlie Manuel's club had a 4-0 lead, fell behind 5-4, then got 3 in the 7th, 2 in the 9th, and leads by 3 here. Changeup drifts high, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Well, this would be a rousing win for Brad Mills and company if they could rescue this one. Bounce to short, though. Rollins in with the toss. Low throw, safe. Looked like Howard did cheat on that one. 2 outs. But you can see why what you were talking about earlier, Jeff, can come into play. If a first baseman can create a little movement sometimes, every now and then you
never know what can happen.
This situation where Howard must have felt like they had no play, so he tries to cheat a little bit. Well, might have been up the line a little bit too. Throws offline just a little bit.
Hunter Pence. That's a ball 1. He ripped a long homer in the 3rd. Ooh. Carlos Lee is on deck. If Hunter can get on, it should be interesting. Oh, boy. 1-1. Hunter was an uncharacteristic flip of the hand on that call.
Yeah. According to Fox Tracks, it's right at the top of the strike zone.
It's 1-2. Hunter's 0 for 3 against Madsen.
That pitch totally changes the at-bat for him, too. He was 1-0 and they called the high strike. Then he's 1-1 with not knowing exactly what's coming there. Again, when he gets a breaking ball, now he's in the hole 1-2.
There's a block by Schneider. It's 2-2. Harry Callis was part of the Astros broadcast team in 1965 and went on to become a Phillies broadcaster. Getting the Ford Frick Award, going into the Hall of Fame. A lot of folks in that 65 year were entertained by Harry. Bill Giles was a member of the Astros front office and then chairman of the Phillies now. Madsen gets a swing and a miss, and the Phillies have won again. They come from behind after the Astros stormed them with a 5-run third. Final score, Phillies 9, Astros 6. Our next Astros telecast comes tomorrow with the finale of the homestand. Coverage begins with Astros Live, presented by Ford at 12:30 p.m. Stay tuned next for Astros Live postgame. You've been watching Astros baseball on Fox Sports Houston.